we are live. We are live. All right. Say hello to me in the chat if you are live with me. Oh, I see a full room. All right. Hello, everyone. I see some questions already coming in through the chat. Let me know if you're here with me. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Yay. Hi, Mike. Hello, Vinko. Hello, Dan. Quick tip. If you have not granted StreamYard permission to see your name, I will not be able to see your name. It will only show up as like anonymous user. It looks like everyone is good so far. Hi, Calvin. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Markinson. Awesome. We got some Montreal, New Zealand. All right, cool. So I'm in Florida. I'm in North Florida. I'm a new Florida resident. Actually, I moved here last year. So we got some really good summer weather. It's kind of muggy actually today. I think there's a hurricane coming. It got a little windy before I came inside. I got out of the house today, got some work done. So I'm excited to be going live with us. So Chris Weiser is typically here with me in this webinar, but today I'm going to be holding down the fort for us. So he got overbooked, double booked during this time slot. That's okay. He may tune in towards the end. We'll see. If not, we're going to have fun. It's kind of like whenever the boss is out of town, right? And they're out of the office and we get to have some fun. So let me know if you are tuning in. Let's have a little green room time. Let me know what you are here to learn today, what you're looking forward to learning. We're going to be talking all about cold calling, best practices, strategies, tips, what's working, what's not working, what our clients are getting the best results from. So just let me know in the chat, like what are some questions that you already have around cold calling? And then I may be hitting those questions today as we get started. And if not, then we'll come back to it. We do have time for Q&A today. So go ahead and let me know in the chat, what are you most looking forward to learning? What questions do you have? And what are you looking forward to taking away today? All right, so Abe says he's coming in from New Jersey. Cool. Awesome. Mobile phone numbers. Have you found that it works? Ooh, great question, Calvin. I'm not actually going to cover mobile numbers specifically today, so I'll go ahead and speak to that right now. Mobile phone numbers are tricky, right? And if you even think about this from your perspective, when someone calls your mobile, well, one of two things happens. Either one, you answer it and you're like, okay, who's this? Maybe it's important. Maybe this is a business prospect. You're going to answer it. Or two, you say, I don't know this number, and you don't answer it. So one of two things is going to happen. But I think that the most important thing is that if you are going to go after mobile numbers, then you better have something of high value when you're calling business owners or leaders on their mobile phone numbers. Because if you're calling my mobile number, and it's legitimate, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it. Or if I don't answer, it's going to go to my voicemail. But I want to know that it's of value to me. So don't waste my time, right? And you would say the same thing. Don't waste your time. And I'm going to actually talk about things today that are of value and not just calling, pitching first-time appointments, not just calling, looking to make the quick sale, trying to replace someone's MSP or the current MSP provider. But instead, I call you with value. I call you with something important. I have this next step laid out for you and really leading with value, not just a quick pitch or looking for the fast close. So we're going to talk through that today. I'm not against mobile numbers. And you will also find that in most list builders, in most of the platforms where you're pulling your list, mobile numbers usually cost more in terms of credit. So you're going to have to pay a premium price to get mobile numbers, which is not a bad thing because it makes you think twice about the pitch and it makes you think twice about who you're calling on their mobile numbers. But what I would do is I would pull my hottest leads. I'd pull my hottest prospects, the ones who have the highest buying intent. And that's who I'd be calling down on their mobiles. I would even prefer that you reserve those mobile number credits for folks that are already in your network. You've already made relationship with them in networking events or trade shows or conferences, etc., and really use that to double down and say, hey, Dan, I saw you last week at the XYZ trade show. It's great to connect with you. Yeah, I hope it's all right that I pulled your mobile number. Listen, we're hosting an XYZ cyber briefing. We're going to be talking about the XYZ cyber incident. We want to make sure you and your team are covered. Let's go ahead and get you into this briefing. Yeah, I'll go ahead and personally send you over the invitation. So you see how in the beginning of that call, I referenced our personal connection, made it seem very personal. It wasn't just like a cold pitch or a cold spammy call to a stranger. I had some relevance there. So that's my little spill on mobile numbers, and we can come back to that as we go today. All right. Oh, I got some good stuff over here. So David says, I'm looking for how to handle people that just don't care. All right. Rachel says, I want to learn how I will stop relying on referrals. I'm telling you, right? It's right there in the title. All right. McLean says, how do you handle going through calls with a list that maybe you've already used before? Oh, that's good. We're going to talk about that today. Drayton says, how to handle the gatekeeper. Oh, yeah. We're going to be talking all about gatekeeper today. Awesome, Jack. You're from Jersey. Cool. Yep. Awesome. Glad that was helpful, Calvin. Okay. So we're about 8 minutes in. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. So if you're here today, you are ready to learn how to stop relying on referrals to build your MSP. And you are hoping to get 10 new leads per month with cold calling. So I'm super excited to have you all here. Now, a couple of things before you get started. You can see this is Chris Weiser here. If you've never met Chris, this is our CEO and founder of Seven Figure MSP. Chris says, hey, I'm going to be showing you how to add new leads to your MSP sales pipeline every single month without complicated funnels or expensive direct mail campaigns or ads. Now, as our VP of marketing coaching here at Seven Figure MSP, it is super important that we have a clear process. And we're going to walk through what this process looks like today. You're going to have a lot of strategic information as well as some tactical things, so things that you can actually put into play today. If you have a dialer or if you have a sales development rep or an appointment setter that's already on your team, I highly recommend getting them into this call with us or get them into this webinar. You can copy and paste the link straight to them. So highly recommend getting them in here because this is going to be very strategic and tactical. So you're going to walk away with real strategy, real skills, real talk tracks, real scripts that you can go and put into practice today. Okay. So let's get ready. Take notes, take action. We also have some prizes that we're going to be giving away today. So we're really big on prizes, making this fun, making this super collaborative. One winner will get a $100 Amazon gift card. We also have a $75 Amazon gift card. And everyone that hangs out with us until the end, you're actually going to have an opportunity to get a $50 gift card. So I think that's cool. Obviously, that's not why we want you to be here. We want you to be here for the skills and the strategy and all the things that you're going to put into place after you go through this. These are just some perks that we like to give out to our community. So to win these, you got to stay until the end. We'll go through our training. We'll open up for Q&A. I'll be talking about an opportunity that you and your team, if you're fit, you could take advantage of to work with us and so that we can help you get more leads into your MSP. But we'll cover that towards the end today. And of course, we'll have to make sure that you're a fit for that. Okay. So please pay attention with me today. Hang out with me. No tickets. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to put it away, but please put your tickets away. No client calls. Put your ringer on do not disturb, personal mode. I don't know about you, but I live in personal mode right here. So put that phone on personal mode, and I promise you it will be there whenever we get done. Okay? No distractions. Shut the kids out of the home office. Whatever. Put a sign on the door. Come back later. Do not disturb. Whatever you got to do, be here with us. Because the thing is, if you are serious about changing your MSP, changing the trajectory of your business, filling your pipeline, then you are going to want to be here, be with us, be present for the next 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. So I'm curious, how many of you hanging out with us in the chat, in the live room, how many of you have ever been to one of our live events before? Okay. How many of you have ever been with us here in person? Let me know in the chat. Just put me like a yeah in the chat. Put me a yeah in the chat if you've been with us in person before. If you have not, we do have a couple of events that are coming up. We would love to meet you. We'd love to hang out with you in person. We offer national, actually, technically we go into Canada now. We offer national and international events where we teach MSPs across the country how to grow and scale their MSP, how to double their MRR in 6 months or less. Our next event is actually in Oklahoma City. Oh, we need to update that date. We've actually moved it to July. So we will be in Oklahoma City in July. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado August 13 to 15. We've got Milwaukee coming up in Minneapolis, and then Calgary in October. So some really, really cool stuff coming up. Our big events, so these are our huge events where we have hundreds of MSPs there. That's the one that's in orange. That's our Denver event. You can actually check that out right here, sevenfigureMSPevents.com/Denver. This is going to be an absolutely exceptional week of training. We have myself, I'll be talking about, so you've outsourced your marketing. Now what? You didn't get the results that you want. Now what? And how to really take control of your lead generation results. We're going to have Cindy Phillips, our head sales trainer there. You'll see her picture here in a few minutes. She's going to be speaking on how to actually rock co-managed deals. So how to go after 200, 300, 400, 500 seat deals with a co-managed play. We have some awesome guest speakers. We have Penn Jillette, really cool guest speakers that are going to be there with us, and a concert in the Red Rocks. So I don't know about you, but I'm a huge music fan. Every day I'm listening to music, and just really, I think it's like an adult ADHD thing, actually. That's how I get things done, is through music. And we have a concert that Wednesday night. It will be in the beautiful Red Rocks Amphitheater. We're going to be seeing the Revivalists and Spoon. So tickets are super limited. If you and your team are considering coming out, highly recommend you be there for the Denver event. And that link is sevenfigureMSPevents.com/Denver. You can grab your ticket right there. You can also scan that code, of course. It's safe, I promise. All right, awesome. So a little bit about our coaching team. If you've never been on any of our trainings before, we are a sales and marketing coaching program for managed service providers. So we help MSPs double their monthly recurring revenue in 6 months or less. We do that through very strategic sales and marketing skill sets, by teaching you these skill sets, teaching you these strategies that are not just based on right now and based on trends and kind of fast but temporary results, but actually teaching you strategy that stands the test of time. So these are real skills that you're going to take with you, not just in your MSP, but in everything that you do. Ask any of our clients. Seriously, ask any of our clients. The work that we do is so real. You can actually see Chris, Cindy, myself, Ryan O'Hara here. This is a bit of our coaching team. We have some other in-residence coaches and assistant coaches that we also have that work with us. But yeah, we are so passionate about helping MSPs and their teams grow their businesses. So, all right, let's dive in. I'm just going to jump straight into our training today. So typically, if we have Chris on, he's talking to you around cybersecurity and why it is that you want to double down on selling your all-in-one or your highest of the high, your best of the best MSP packages. I'm not going to go into that today. I want to make the most bang for our time. I want to be respectful of your time. And my goal is to get us out of here within like the next 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to jump straight into how to start getting those 10 leads per month using cold calling so that we can stop relying on referrals alone. Okay. So here we go. Step number 1, we have to train our mind. All right. And I know this looks a little silly here, but this is so important. All right. Everything that you do starts right here. It starts with you. It starts with how you feel. It starts with how you believe in yourself. It starts with how you show up for yourself. So whether you are MSP owner, sales manager, appointment setter, sales development rep, dialer, it does not matter. It starts with you. Okay. So something that I do every single day with our leads mastery, which is our dialer and SDR training program, I start our group every single day with a morning huddle. This is where we get our mind right. This is where every single day we're starting our day in the right direction so that we can go get the best results that day. All right. So here's what I mean. I want you to repeat this, and you can screenshot this. I'm going to turn them up here, and it's a little hot in here. You can screenshot this. You can write it down. You can take a picture of it, whatever you need to do. All right. But I want you to train yourself with these words. Start your day out every single day with these words. This is going to change the way that you do your cold calls and everything else. All right. You ready? I am the kind of person that wins. I am the kind of person that people listen to. I am the kind of person that sticks to the plan. Ooh, that's good, right? I am the kind of person that attracts success everywhere I go. All right. So I want you to screenshot this, take a picture of it, do what you need to do. Start your day off with these words. All right. Because let's be honest, cold calling is hard. All right. It is daunting. Actually, I'm not even going to say that it's hard. It's really not hard. It's actually quite simple. It's a very simple process, but it is daunting. Okay. And you are putting yourself in a position to be told no a lot. And that's not fun, especially if we internalize those results. So if we show up hanging on a whim of if we get a yes or no, it's going to feel very heavy. Heavy feelings lead to heavy results. All right. And then it's just like a circle. It keeps going around and around and around. So we have to feel really good. We've got to be determined that we are the kind of person that wins. We are the kind of person that people listen to. We are the kind of person that we stick to the plan. We attract success everywhere we go so that when we pick up the phone and we start making those calls, we know that we're in control of our results. We know that we're in control of the trajectory that we're going in. We know that we're not basing our worth, our MSP's worth, or our personal worth on the results or the direction that the calls go in. Okay. Everything you do, again, starts right there. All right. So put a 1 in the chat if you are going to start your day with these words, that you are the kind of person that wins. Put a 1 in the chat if you are going to train your mind and start your day with these words. All right. Number 2, we have to know that we have a legitimate plan to follow. All right. So I don't want to just pick up my cell phone, go find some numbers on LinkedIn and just start calling them. Can you do that? Yes. Have we done that in cold call clinics before to get people to take action? Absolutely. Yes. But that's not how I want to start. That's not how I really want to go all in and being the kind of person that wins. No, I got to have a plan. All right. So my number 1 recommendation, especially if you are a one-person MSP, if it's just you and you're doing all the things such as tickets and HR and finance and bookkeeping and appointment setting, and you're also doing marketing and sales, everything. If you're doing all the things, you have to have your time protected. All right. So the number 1 thing that you need to do is batch time in your calendar with morning and afternoon power hours. All right. Now, this is also relevant if you are a business development rep and maybe you are working the full cycle of the sales process from top to the bottom. Then you need to make time for top of funnel. You need to make time for generating leads, for setting your appointments. All right. So you got to make that time. If you don't make the time, then what happens is the thing that we least look forward to doing will get put last. Okay. The thing that we least look forward to doing will get put last. And then where are we at the end of the day? How do you feel at the end of the day? You're probably tired, you're burnt out, you're out of time, and you're probably just going to kick it off to the next day. Okay. So if you batch power hours in your calendar, you're that much more likely to do that task because then it holds a spot in your calendar. Now, if you're saying, well, Lindsey, I don't have a whole hour to put in the morning and the afternoon, put a dirty 30 in there. I don't care what you call it. Put a dirty 30, so a 30-minute block in your calendar where you know that that's where you're going to jump in and you're going to do some cold calls. Okay? You're going to jump in and you're going to do your dialing for those 30 minutes. Whatever you have to do to put in containers of time in your calendar so that you have batch time to make your calls. Okay? Now, the other thing that we want to do, let me just pull up my chat over here so I can see everyone. Awesome. The next thing that we want to do is we want to map out our daily goals. So on a day-to-day basis, we want to make sure that we know, who are we calling? Who are we calling? Who's our industry for the day? Who's our target market for the day? Am I calling CPAs? Am I calling law firms? Am I calling manufacturers? Am I calling construction companies? I need to have a vertical chosen for that day so that I'm not just calling everybody that I can get my hands on, because then my message is not targeted. Okay, because why? Specificity sells. I want to be as specific as I can with my hook, with my pitch, with the thing that I'm asking them to do, because the more specific that I am, the more yeses that I'm going to sell. Okay, specificity sells. Write that down. So I got to know, who am I calling? Is my list ready? Do I have a list to call? Is my list pulled? Do I have phone numbers for it? And is it already in my CRM, or is it in my power dialer, wherever it is that I'm pushing my calls out from? Is my list ready? Okay, number three, I gotta know what's my pitch. What am I asking people to do? What's my next step for them? Am I getting on the phone with them and saying, hey, do you want to replace your IT provider? No, don't do that. That you're not going to get very high results from that. You're not going to get good results. You're going to have people hang up on you, say no thanks, don't call me again, put me on the do not call list. We don't want to do that. Okay. We also don't want to just pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Lindsey from ABC Cyber. Looking, wondering when's the last time you had a cybersecurity risk assessment? Do you want to buy one? We don't want to do that, right? We don't want to call them and have no plan and just be pitching to either replace their IT department or to buy a CSRA. You're going to get very low results from that, and you're going to get hung up on a lot. Okay, so we got to have a pitch. I'm going to talk to you about what your pitch should look like and how you're going to get the best results from your pitch today. All right, we want to know, what's your conversation goal? So we want to have a number, right, of conversations that I'm aiming to have every day. So yes, I can track outbound calls, right? But if I'm not tracking conversations, so how many conversations with a human being that I actually had, I'm not going to have really good stats to lean on, right? So if I, for example, am making a conversation goal of 50, if I want to have 50 conversations in a day, well, you better bet your money that I can go have 5 yeses in a day, because that's a 10% yes rate. All right. If I'm following these talk tracks, I'm doing the things I need to do, I got a strong pitch, I can go get 5 yeses a day with 50 conversations. All right. But if I say, oh, well, I want to make 50 calls. Well, you can make 50 calls, but only speak to 6 people. Okay. And I'm not going to have really good stats if from those 50 calls, I got 1 yes from that. That's not really going to tell me much. But if I got 1 yes from 6 conversations, that's great. That's amazing, right? That's an 18% yes rate. That's wonderful. Okay. So I want to make sure that I have a conversation goal set every single day. How many live people am I speaking with? And yes, gatekeepers count. So yes, office administrators, office managers, secretaries, administrative assistants. Yes, those count as conversations. You're speaking to a live person. Yes, it counts. Okay. And number 5, what's your non-negotiable yes goal? So you just heard me talk about a yes. How many yeses that I get in a day? That's how many people are moving to the next step, whatever my ask is for them. So whether I'm asking them to go to a cybersecurity briefing, to a webinar, to a training, to a lunch and learn, a wine and learn, business and brunch, whatever my ask is, what's my non-negotiable yes goal? Okay, so for point of reference, in our leads mastery group, we have a 2 yeses per day, no matter what rule. So every single day, I'm shooting for 2 yeses, no matter what. I don't put the phone down until I go get 2 yeses. Okay, I don't get up until I get 2 yeses. All right, so that just keeps you focused and keeps you focused on the money, so that every single day you've got movement. Okay, every single day you're filling the top of your funnel with new yeses. That's new leads that you can go and work. Okay. Now that's the beginning of your morning. That's top of day. Now at the end of day, I want to have a daily debrief. This can take 5 minutes. 5 minutes at the end of your day, it's going to go so far. What worked well? What objections did you hear? So just really quickly at the end of the day, just jot it in a notes app. In my notes app, I'll show you guys. This is kind of cool. At the end of each day, I have a running list that says end of day. And it shows everything that I did that day. And I list out every single thing that I did. So what I would do, and it's like, I scheduled X call with X person. I booked X amount of appointments. I did, and it's this way that I debrief the day. So I highly recommend that you do the same thing. What worked well today? What objections did you hear? What did people respond well to? What got people to open up? What got the yeses? What got the notes? And what are you going to try differently tomorrow? Okay, so this is 5 minutes at the end of your day where you are just being very intentional on reflecting on the day. Now, this is actually going to really come into handy when you start having morning huddles with your team. So when you start to build your top of funnel sales team, so your appointment setting team, this is going to become very useful, because when you join morning huddle, you're going to be able to reflect on, oh, here were my wins from the previous day. I got 3 yeses yesterday. What were my obstacles? Oh, well, I was told that they already had an IT department and they didn't need to attend the briefing. Okay, and what are my opportunities for the day? I need to learn how to pivot when someone tells me that they have an IT department. So as long as you're taking these notes every single day, it's going to help you stay in the offense of your dialing strategy so that you're not just winging it every single day, so that you nor your team are just winging it every single day. Okay. Now, number three, we want to dial like we mean it. So, what do we mean by that? Dial like we mean it. We're going to get a little tactical here, okay? So, we want to make sure that we have a list of at least 1,000 ideal prospects on it. Now, why 1,000? Having 1,000 prospects on a list allows me to, number one, get stats that actually mean something. So if I'm looking at a list of 100 people, well, I'm probably only going to get about 30 to 50 answers from that. And I really can't make any good assumptions from that. That's really not a big enough set of data for me to get stats that mean something. Okay. Now I bump up to 500. I may get 250, 300 answers from that. It's still kind of low. Yes, I can pull some data, I can pull some stats, but it's really not enough for me to draw assumptions or draw conclusions from it. So I want to bump it up to about 1,000 prospects on a list. I'll get between 500 to 800 answers, 500 to 800 conversations from that over the span of like 60 days, usually 30 to 60 days on that. And that's going to allow me to actually make some decisions and say, well, this list worked for us, or we got, a 2% yes rate on this. We need to either one, pivot our message, or maybe two, we've already done that. Then we need to pivot the list itself. Okay, maybe we decide that's just not the list, that's not the vertical for us, but we can make those decisions from data. We make data-driven decisions, DDD, data-driven decisions, because I have a big enough data list to make those decisions now. Okay. Now, this does not mean that I want to burn through this list so fast within a week, okay, that then I'm going to build another list of 1,000. It will take you about 30 or about 60 to 90 days to truly run through your list of 1,000. Okay. And the reason why is because we're not just calling them once and then giving up. You want to have a full process of where you call, you follow up, you have voicemail drops, and you have a full process to follow so that you're making multiple touch points with them. Okay. And that's a huge, huge part of a cold call strategy, is that you're not just relying on one cold call. You're not just relying on one call in general or on a cold call in general, that you have multiple touch points on multiple different platforms. So we recommend emails, cold calls, and LinkedIn touch points. Okay. And then quarterly, you can work in a direct mail response or a direct mail campaign as well. So sending out a postcard or a formalized letter, such as for the FTC or the Federal Trade Commission campaign, where you're saying, hey, did you know that Federal Trade Commission has just, implemented new safeguards, XYZ. We're hosting this webinar. We're going to be talking about what you need to know, and you're inviting them to that. So I'm not just relying on cold calls. I have this multi-touch point strategy to where I'm tying in all those different ways that we're showing leadership, we're building rapport, and they're hearing the same message over and over and over again. Okay, so a really fun kind of saying that I like to say to our clients is, if you sound like a broken record, then you're probably doing it right. So if your marketing sounds like a broken record, if you're dialing, if you're sending these emails, if you're doing these things and you sound like a broken record, you're probably doing it right. That's marketing. That is marketing at its finest, when you have such a clear scope and a clear message on who it is that you serve and what problem you help them solve. You're going to sound like a broken record sometimes. That's okay. All right. So we want to make sure that our list is built on target industry. So I have a specific industry picked out, a couple of industries. These are just ideas. Come up with your own. Accountants. So we could do CPA firms. We could have construction companies. We could do home security, commercial security. We could have title lending agencies. We could have car dealerships or auto dealerships, any type of industry. The key here is to niche down so that you're not just saying, oh, small businesses. What kind of small business? Everyone's a small business under 25 million. Okay. What type of small business? Be specific. Even niching down to financial services, what part of financial services? There's wealth management, there's retirement, there's accounting. There's so many small industries or small target markets underneath that. go a little bit deeper, right? Go deeper into that industry because, again, what sells? Specificity. When you can be specific, you're going to get more yes rates. Okay. Your message will become clearer. The solution that you provide will become clearer. You're going to have more targeted stories to tell, pulling on those emotional pain points. So the more specific that you can get, the better. Okay. So target industry. We then want to have geographic location. So this one's kind of tricky because if you are in an area, let's just say, for example, before I moved to Florida, I lived in the southern region of Georgia. All right. And it was very rural. So we had a ton of agriculture and it was just like a very rural area. So if I had been targeting CPAs, I would have really had to have had expanded in terms of geographic location to hit my list of 1,000. I may have had to have even gone all the way from like North Florida to Central Georgia to hit that 1,000, maybe even farther. Okay. So you may have to expand depending on where your geographic location is to hit your numbers that you need to hit for that target list, right? For that ideal list that we have. So we got target industry, geographic location, ideal employee count. Now, in our third webinar of our webinar series, so right now we're on webinar 2, we talk about how to get really qualified prospects, and some general rule of thumb, like a general rule of thumb that you want to have is the more seats that you have, or the more employees that are within a company, well, the more that you're going to get paid on it, right? Common sense, because if we're charging by seat, our recommended seat price is $300 per seat. If you're charging based on seat, $300 per seat, well, would I rather expend resources targeting 5-person companies or 15-person companies, right? 15-person companies versus 50-person companies. Okay. You do the math on that. So this does 2 things. Number 1, this gives me the most bang for my buck. But 2, this is going to automatically move me into that annual revenue range. So the more employees that a business has, the more revenue that they are making, right? Theoretically, that's how it should be. Okay. So theoretically, if I'm making more money, I got more employees and vice versa. That's going to make sure that they have the budget and they're on a growth track to spend on IT and cybersecurity. Okay. If we're targeting companies that are startups and they're just trying to bootstrap, trying to make it, they're still learning how to make money, they may not be the ideal fit for where I want to expend my resources. Okay. If you're paying yourself to go set appointments, or you're paying an SDR, a dialer, you're paying an appointment setting team, we want to make sure that we're expending it on places where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. Okay. So if any of you already have a target industry that you're focused on and you've already got some of these parameters mapped out, let me know in the chat who that is. Let me know in the chat who's your target industry, who's your geographic location, your employee count, your annual revenue range. And then on the next slide here, I'm actually going to show you an example of how this looks when we go to pull this in a list builder. Okay, I'm going to check the chat. All right, Mike says, I eat those frogs first. That's awesome. Let's see. David said, so we shouldn't ever make it personalized. David, tell me a little bit about what you mean with it. What you mean on this question. Awesome. I got lots of ones from over here. This is good. Good stuff. Let's see. Will Toronto make it on your list? Oh, we were actually in Toronto last September. We were in Toronto last September, and we have talked about going back to Toronto end of this year. So we had a really good turnout in Toronto end of last year. Toronto was actually one of my favorite road shows that we've ever done. We had a really awesome turnout. We had great attendance. The folks that were in the room for Toronto were so engaged, just so welcoming into their city, but also so engaged into the content and just like on it. So we really had a great time in Toronto. I would definitely put it back on our list. All right. And Donnie, yes, we will you will have access to the recording. We'll send out links to the recording after. Yep, it will be recorded. Awesome. All righty, cool. So Abe says, at what point should an MSP niche down? 1 person less than 1 year old MSP should already niche. So you're a 1-person shop, less than 1 year old, should you already be niching? So if you've already tapped into your circle of influence, and you kind of think about where you are revenue wise, I mean, it really doesn't matter how many people you have in your MSP or how old you are. Think about your revenue. So kind of a general rule of thumb, if you are above the 10 to 12K monthly revenue mark, then yes, you can start niching down. If you have not made it to that 10 to 12K MRR, so that's recurring revenue that you have on contracts every single month, you can say they're going to pay their bill, check. They're going to pay their bill, check. I'm going to get this recurring revenue, check. If we can't say that, then I would be hitting up your networking events. I'd be hitting up my local community, my personal circle of influence, because I can almost guarantee you've got 12K of MRR sitting right there in your personal circle of influence without having to go and niche down and even cold call at this point. You're probably going to find more momentum in your personal circle and in hitting some community events, networking events, chambers of commerce, just kind of getting your name out there and showing up and serving folks that are already in your circle. Great question. All right. So Alan says he's targeting doctors, South Texas, 10 to 300 employees, 2 to 5 million. Beautiful. Love that. So think about the only suggestion I have here, Alan, is if you think about the 200, have you ever heard of the $250,000 rule? So for every employee that a company has, there should be in an ideal world, there should be $250,000 in yearly revenue that backs up that employee. Okay. So if you do the math on this, the more employees that they have, let's say that they're a 10-person company, I would want to see at least 2.5 million in revenue. All right. If they have, let's say 20 employees, I would want to see, you multiply that, right? I would want to see that times 250,000. Okay. So just do the math on that. If you're looking at 300 let's do the math on 300. If they have 300 employees times 250,000, I would be looking at a $75 million company every single year, 75 million in revenue. So you may want to bump up your revenue mark right there. So whenever you go to build out your list, you're going to disqualify a lot of leads if you mark out, if you cap at 5 million in revenue. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Colin says, how do you combat on calls when someone says they have an IT provider? We're going to talk about that. We're going to do that in our scripts today. So hold tight on me. Hold tight for me. All right, so right here in the screenshot, you can actually see where we pulled a list in Apollo, and you can use Apollo, you can use Seamless. We actually just launched our own, it's backed by 7-figure MSP. We launched Clean Leads, which is our list builder. It's only available to our Elite and Leads Mastery and Trailblazer clients right now. So it's not available to the public yet, but it will be soon. Stay tuned for that. But you can use any list builder. And what you will do is you're going to niche down by job title, right? So you're going to go pull decision maker job title. And this is going to be contingent on what your industry is. But for this example, we just pulled CEOs, presidents, co-founders, owners. Okay. Then we niche down by location. So we started out with Austin, Texas for this list. And then we just didn't get what we wanted. So we actually ended up niching all the way out to Texas to help us get what we wanted on that list to hit that number that we were looking for. And then again, we kind of started out with 11 to 20 employees, didn't get what we wanted. We bumped it all the way up to 200 here. And then the industry was in construction, and we niched it down to HVAC, air conditioning, and AC. Okay, so this was the list that we pulled. And if we would have scrolled down, you would have seen our revenue on there as well, the revenue constraints that we were looking for. So you can see that this list, we pulled 749 contacts. And then what Apollo does, and I don't care what list builder you use, any of them are fine. They all have their pros and cons. But what happens is it will pull this list. You'll be able to generate phone numbers. You'll see how many employees they have. You can pull emails if available, and you can kind of see which ones have emails or not. And then you export that list and you can upload it into your CRM or into your Power Dialer so that you can start making those calls, and you do it in a timely, efficient fashion, not calling from your cell phone or from your landline. Okay, you want to definitely plug these things into a Power Dialer because you're just going to be able to run through them so much faster. Okay. Now, to put this, let's just do a little math here. Let's put this into perspective. If I have a list of 1,000, I run this list for 30, 60 days or so, I will get 500 answers. I'm not mad about that. That's a 50% pickup rate. That's fine. 500 answers. If I only had a 5% yes rate, that is 25 yeses. That is 25 people in the top of my funnel. So if I think about the direction that my funnel goes in, I have my yeses that say, yes, you can market to me with whatever my offer is up here at the top. And then my funnel slowly gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's narrower as they go down. And at the end of that is where we close contracts. Okay, so I got to have the numbers. I got to have the volume up top, which is where this 25 yeses comes into play. I got to have the volume up top to pump out the yeses that I need at the bottom. All right, now that's just with a 5% yes rate. We can do better than that. We can absolutely do better with that, but do better than that when we have solid scripts, solid message, and we're specific on our list. Okay, but if I only had a 5% yes rate, I'd have 25 leads in the top of my funnel. Okay. Now, the key here is to work this list until it can't be worked anymore. So again, don't just call this list once and then give up. We want to call them again. We want to make sure that we've got emails going out. We've got LinkedIn touch points out. We've got all these things that are working in synchronicity with each other, pushing them into the top of your funnel. It will take multiple calls to get an answer. It will take then, once you get them to an answer, to get through to the decision maker and then to get them to a yes. All right. Now, even if you never get to the decision maker on your cold calls, I still want to leverage the calls with the gatekeeper. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second here. I still want to leverage my conversations with the gatekeeper to where I'm building relationship with them. And I'm not just trying to like scurry past the gatekeeper. Okay. So whether you're talking to the assistants, secretaries, office managers, etc., make them your friend. Treat them with respect. Do not try to always get past the gatekeeper because they're doing their job. And think about it. If you are targeting, let's say, for example, you are targeting law firms, okay? And I would actually say that law firms is a harder industry to target because how do they operate? On billable hours, right? So if you're not paying for their time, they're just in a mindset to where they don't give you their time, right? So keep that in mind when we're targeting law firms. But when let's say that the lawyer says, or the partner, the owner of the law firm says, hey, we need to start looking at, updating our computers. We need to start looking at these things. I heard about this law firm over here being hacked or breached. We need to start checking out the stuff and making sure that we're doing our due diligence. Who do they task with that? Do they go themselves and start quoting out MSPs? Do they go themselves and start start Googling MSPs themselves? No. They're going to task their office manager, right? They're going to task the person in their office who is the gatekeeper, right? So you want to make sure that you're making friends with the gatekeeper, because if you've done your due diligence, you've called multiple times, you've had a valuable offer, you've led with value with that solution, who's that gatekeeper going to call? They're going to call you. They're going to call the person who said, hey, Susie, or hey, John, whomever, we've got this. We're calling in regards to the XYZ incident, the XYZ breach. We want to make sure that your company's protected. We are doing XYZ educational opportunity where we're going to be talking about what you need to know about this breach, how to make sure your company was not impacted, and what you can do to limit the blast radius, right? And they're going to remember that. So that was a little hint into our talk track that we're going to cover later. But they're going to remember that, and you're going to be who they call. Okay, so we don't want to just try to get past the gatekeeper and try to like trick them into putting you on the phone with the decision maker, because if we are doing that, you're going to meet a lot of resistance, number one, from the decision maker, because again, they're working on billable hours. They're like, why are you calling me? What's going on? And number two, that gatekeeper is going to say, what? You lied to me. You never talked to them. You just try to get past me. And that's just not the way that we want to do business. Okay, so introduce yourself to gatekeeper, be likable, treat them like a human. And work your strengths, right? If you're funny, be funny. If you're charming, be charming. If you can make them smile on the other line, do that. All right. I'm going to give you some talk tracks here in a minute. But just, I always have to include this because I think that the old school way, that kind of like super salesy way of cold calling, was to try to scurry past the gatekeeper, was to try to trick them into getting you on the phone with the decision maker as soon as quick as possible. And that's just not necessarily the best way to do it anymore. It's just not, because number one, we're not making fast sales. We're not selling bug spray. We're not selling something that's a low ticket product. We're selling contracts for 3, 5, sometimes even 6 years, okay, that are multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not 7-figure contracts, right? So this is not a fast sell. I'm not trying to scurry past them and go get the quick yes from the decision maker. I want to build rapport and trust within that entire ecosystem of that business. Okay. And that starts with the gatekeeper. So that's my spill there. All right. Awesome. So Zach, oh, that's interesting. Zach says, I don't mean to rain on the parade, but recent research has shown me that the average conversion rate for cold calling is less than 1%. Yeah. In our program, our averages are between 10 to 15%. So yeah, you're right. On average, if you're doing it the way that we just talked about, you're right. You're going to get 1% conversion rates. That's what makes this training so valuable. Okay. So you want to add your leads list to your CRM with the tag cold lead. So let's say that you pull your list over here, you go pull this list, right? I pull this list, I export it. I'm going to go plug it into my CRM. It doesn't matter what CRM you're using, just pick one. We have one that we provide to all of our clients. If you're not a client, you can also use it. We have a couple of different plans that you can choose from. It's called WiseTrack CRM, but you want to plug it in. And I always like to keep the tag cold lead attached to it. That way, whenever I'm making outreach to those leads, I know that they're a cold lead. They are not opted in to be marketed to yet. So I'm going to treat them a little bit differently. I'm going to make sure that I'm always getting consent. I'm going to make sure I'm not sending them any warm marketing materials. I want to make sure that I'm treating them like a cold lead and I have them in the right place, getting the right nurture material. Okay. Here's an example of our cold calling power dialer that we have in WiseTrack. So this is our CRM. So you see here, this is an actual system. I'm not just picking on and like dialing numbers. I have an actual system. Now, if you don't have this yet, that's okay. Don't let that stop you. Like pick up the phone and do something. But in an ideal world, I would want to have an actual workflow built out that moves leads through a process. So you can see here, if I get no answer, I'm going to wait 90 seconds. I'm going to move them to the no answer stage. I'm going to send them an email. I'm going to wait 3 hours and I'm going to then send them a text message if I have their mobile number. If I get their voicemail, I can plug in a voicemail drop that automatically gets dropped to them. I'm going to then move them to the voicemail stage in our pipeline. If the call was completed or answered, I'm going to wait 5 minutes and then I can decide, well, if they registered or they said yes, and for this campaign, this is actually for our cybersecurity briefing. If they said yes, I move them to the registered pipeline, which is then another set of triggers, or they're not registered. I move them to that stage of the pipeline, which I would actually either call them again or add them into a nurture series. Okay, so this is just an example. This is a very small snippet of an example of having an actual power dialer and why this is so powerful rather than just using your desk phone or using your landline to make these calls manually. Okay. Awesome. Vince, let me check your question over here. I'm trying to hit the questions as we go so that they're not all stacked up at the end if I can. All right. So Vince says, as you said, cold calling is a tough gig and it's difficult to find the right bodies for any seat these days. So what are your weights and measures for finding the SDR who's going to stay and kill it? Oh my gosh, Vince, I could talk about that all day. I absolutely love training top of funnel sales teams. We have a training that we actually did last month. Nope, 2 months ago. 2 months ago, and I will see if I can pull it for you, Vince, and I will shoot that training over to you. The short version on that is I want someone who's hungry and I want someone who's money motivated. Okay. I want someone who's going to be in it to win it. They are not just there to check boxes, but someone who's going to be in there to perform. Because if you're an SDR or you're a dialer, you are absolutely in a performance-based position. Okay. You are absolutely someone who's got numbers to hit and you better make it happen. Right? So I want someone who's hungry, money motivated, they're incentivized to hit their numbers. And as the owner, as the leader, the sales leader, I got to be incentivizing them correctly, right? I got to give them metrics. I want to give them spiffs for calls that are sat. So for actual appointments that are sat, and then also for appointments that move down the pipeline. So I need to have a really solid hiring and onboarding and incentivization plan and process so that I not only get the right talent, I not only attract the right talent, but I also retain the right talent. Okay, so I'm going to table that because love that topic, but we have other trainings on it. And same for that question as well, Drayton. Where can I find the SDR that can consistently hit these numbers? So just to kind of let you guys know, at the end of this training, I'm going to walk through our leads mastery program. This is what I do in there. This is what we do all day. We hire, train, onboard, and develop your SDRs and dialers. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of our training today. All right, so we want to make sure we're calling from our CRM and we are recording our calls. So each state has different laws around call recording disclosure. Do your due diligence. This is just a resource that I found. This is not law. This is what I found. Do your own research for your own state. Everywhere is a little bit different. But you can see here a map of one-party consent states. This is just from a quick Google poll. You can do your own research on this. But this means only one party on the line needs to have given consent to record the call. So I'm in Florida. Florida is a two-party consent state, which means that both people on the line have to give permission to be recorded. So if I am in a two-party consent state, what my dialer would say in the beginning of the call is, hey, this is Lindsey from over at ABC Tech. Listen, I'm calling in regards to the XYZ cyber breach. Oh, by the way, I am recording this call just in case we need to come back to it later and also for call assurance purposes. So I'm calling you about the XYZ breach. We want to make sure that your company is protected, XYZ. So do you see how I quickly pulled that in there? And I'm making sure that they understand that this call is being recorded. These, as of the last time I did this research, these are the states that I have to pull both parties are consenting. Okay. And then the rest of the United States, if you're US based, are only one party. So if I consent to recording the call, that's actually enough. It doesn't have to be consent on both sides. Do your own research there. All right. So really important to know that as you're making cold calls, if you are pitching a one-on-one, if you are pitching first-time appointments, if you are pitching a free consultation, if you're pitching something that requires someone to basically get on a sales call with you, you're going to have a lower yes rate. So this goes back to the question over here, or from the comment from Zach. He says, oh, well, most cold calls get 1%. Yes, you're right. If we're trying to get people into a one-on-one. So if you're saying, hey, John, listen, let's get you in for a one-on-one. Let's put you on the phone with one of our reps and see if we can support you. Let's see if we can support your IT or replace your current IT department. Yeah, you're going to get a low rate. Of course you are, because they know that they're being sold to. You also have very, very limited qualification that's going on. I don't even know if I want to work with this person. So why am I going to put them in a one-on-one call with my sales team, which for most of us, or for a lot of us here in this webinar, it's going to be the MSP owner. A lot of us are just running our sales teams by ourselves, or your owner-led sales team. So your owner is actually leading the sales and performing the sales. So why would I even want to put them on a one-on-one call if I've done no pre-qualification first? So instead, what I want to do is I want to have neutral landing places. All right. Neutral landing places are groups or conversion events where I'm actually going to be pre-qualifying the leads that I'm getting into the top of the funnel before I ever put them on the sales call, before I ever put them on a call with my team. I actually have a place where I can pre-qualify them, I can educate them, I can inform them, and then they can make an informed decision on whether or not they want to book in with our team or not. Okay, this does wonders for leveraging your time. Number one, it's also going to help people get onto a call with your team and they're not in the dark. They're not wondering, why am I here on this call? Let me be candid with you. This is what happens whenever we whenever we outsource our appointment setting teams or our appointment setting to third-party companies we'll be your dialer. We'll make $500 for you in a month. We'll set 10 appointments for you in a month. We'll set 3 guaranteed appointments. You're probably going to get people who are being straight up pitched a first-time appointment. They've had no pre-qualification done. They're getting on the phone call and they're wondering, what are we doing here? Why are we even on this call? What are you selling? Oh, the person who booked the call for me told me that you were going to beat my current IT provider's price. And I don't know about you, but we don't want to sell on price because there's always going to be someone cheaper. Always. There's cheaper people coming in the market every single day. We don't want to sell on price. Okay. So I do not want to be or in most cases, I do not want to be pitching first-time appointments on my cold calls. I only want to be offering first-time appointments to my warm calls, to folks who have already called. I've already had them attend a webinar or a briefing or an event, or they've already done something that pre-qualified them. Then I follow up, then I push them through to the first time appointment. Okay, so for that actual cold leads list that I pull, I want to send them to a neutral landing place. So if your next question is, what's a neutral landing place? Here's a couple of examples. You can do a webinar. This is a 45, 60 minute, maybe even 90 minute, one to many. So that's exactly what you're saying in a webinar right now. This is me. I'm one person. I'm presenting to many people, and I'm educating this group of people on our processes and on the solution that we provide. So you can do the exact same thing. You can actually see an example of a one-to-many webinar right here. So this is one of our campaigns that we offer inside of our elite program. So this is called the Why You Need a Cybersecurity Risk Assessment. This is a 45 to 60 minute webinar where you are walking your leads, your top of funnel leads, through the process that you follow to offer your clients a CSRA, why you do it, and why they actually need one. Okay, so you're helping to inform them and educate them so that they can go make a decision for themselves, so that they're not getting on a sales call with you where you're going to go sell them a $2,000 CSRA and they're like, what? I thought it was free. What? I thought you were going to be cheaper than who I'm currently using. No, they're getting onto that sales call with you or with your team, and they're an informed buyer. That's so important. Another example of a neutral landing place would be a weekly cybersecurity briefing. So this is one of our most successful campaigns. This is where we're seeing upwards between 15 to 20% conversion rates, or 15 to 20% yes rates from their cold leads list. So calling your cold leads, let's say you have 100 conversations, we're seeing anywhere between 15 and 20 yeses from that. So highly successful campaign on that. You can actually see here's a template, or the first page from our template for that briefing here. You could also send them to a checklist. You could send them to a best-selling book chapter. You could send them to a lunch and learn, any type of neutral landing place that's not you asking for a sale. I'm not going to just call someone and immediately ask them for a sale, because again, we're selling multi-6 or 7-figure contracts. You're not going to get that from one phone call. You're going to burn through that leads list, and then you're going to wonder, well, do I need to fire my dialer? Are they not doing a good job? Does the script suck? Should I change industries? What's the issue? Okay. And it's probably because you're just making the wrong pitch and you have the wrong message. So we just need to tighten that up. All right. So let's see. David says, when I've pitched a webinar before, people have asked, what do you get out of it? You're not giving your time away for no reason. So you say, absolutely. We want to make sure that we are educating the community. And then those that are a good fit, we're absolutely going to talk to you about what it's like to work with us to help you protect your organization and your revenue. If it's a good fit, we'll talk about next steps. Okay. So David, if you think about it, in the very beginning of this webinar, what did I say before we ever even got into the teaching content? I said at the end of the webinar, I'm going to be talking about an opportunity to work with our team. We'll see if it's a good fit and see if we can support you in growing your MSP, right? So I'm being very upfront. Hey, we're going to educate you. You're going to get all this free training. And if it's a good fit, we're going to see if we can support you. And you're going to do that exact same thing in your webinar, in your briefing, in your calls, etc. Okay. So yes, very great question. All right. So you can see here's our briefing. You can see a webinar example here. Here's another webinar that our clients use. This is what your auto dealership needs to know about the FTC safeguards. You could also plug in what your CPA firm needs to know about the FTC safeguards. So this is all very valuable information that your leads can come to these neutral landing places where they're there to be informed and educated. Then on these webinars, then you're sending them through to the first time appointment. Okay. Then you're sending them through to go book a call with your team. Okay. Now, once you get them on the phone, they say yes to the webinar. You say, hey, I would like to make sure that your company is protected. We're going to be talking about the new FTC safeguards, whatever your pitch is. And I've got some talk tracks we're going to cover here in a few minutes. Then we go for the next yes. All right. So this is kind of like a pro tip here. It is easier to get another yes after you've already gotten the first yes. So here's what I mean. Whenever someone is on the phone with you and they say, yeah, sure, go ahead and send me the sign up for the briefing. Yeah, I think that we need to hear about this. All right, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and send you over the invitation. What's the best email? Okay, great. Is there anyone else in your organization that needs to be in this briefing with us? Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and get them added. Now go ahead and open up your email for me. Do you see that email right there that says it's from Lindsey at abctech.com? Yep. Okay, go ahead and click that. Click RSVP. Yep, just RSVP yes on there. That's going to make sure that you keep a calendar hold for this event. All right, awesome. I can see that you RSVP'd it. Now, I also have our chief security officer's calendar pulled up over here. He actually has a 15-minute slot open tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If you'd like, I can go ahead and fast track this for you and Bill, whoever the other person was that needs to be on the call. I can go ahead and fast track you and Bill to hop on a quick 15-minute call with him. Our CSO can go over exactly what you and Bill are currently doing for cybersecurity, and we can just send you in the right direction, give you a game plan going forward. How does 1 o'clock tomorrow work? Okay, awesome. We'll go ahead and get you both plugged in for 1 o'clock tomorrow. So I went from not only getting them the yes for the cybersecurity briefing or the webinar or whatever my ask was, to then, oh, by the way, I have a 1 o'clock here tomorrow for our first time appointment, a 15-minute with our chief security officer. I can go ahead and get you plugged in right now. We'll give you a game plan going forward. All right, awesome. So I go ahead and get that second yes there. So humans have this really funny way of subconsciously validating a decision that they made by saying yes to another thing. So if you think about the like the checkout line, for example, I don't know about you guys, but I love Bath and Body Works candles. They have the best smelling candles in the entire world. I've tried every other candle out there. Nothing compares to a Bath and Body Works candle. They just had their semi-annual sale where they sell them for 50% off. I go stock up. I've got like 15 candles I buy. I do this twice a year. And I'm checking out. As I'm standing in the checkout line, I'm like, oh, well, now I need some hand sanitizer. And oh, yeah, let me grab some of these tiny little soap dispensers because those are great for teachers' gifts. And I do this thing where we subconsciously go ahead and get the next thing because I've already said yes to the first thing. All right. Think about it whenever you buy a new car. You go buy the new car, you sit down, you go to sign off on your paperwork, and they're like, oh, well, don't you want to protect your wheels and tires because you're buying this X amount dollar car and you want to make sure that when you hit the curb it's protected. You're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let me get that tire protection plan. Boom, say yes to that. Okay, so it's so much easier to get the second yes after you've already got the first yes. All right, now you can make common sense applies here. You can make the decision if you had to pull teeth to get them through to that first yes, then maybe you shift the way that you go for the next yes, right? Maybe you just want to get them in and then you're going to go send them into some nurture materials. You send them over a copy of your best-selling book. You get them into a replay that you've done before of a previous webinar, right? But we want to plug in credibility there for maybe the person that's a little bit more skeptical before we go for that next yes. All right. But if we're making these calls, get the most bang for your buck. You get the first yes, then you go for the second yes. And you're going to see how this plays out in our scripts here in a minute. Now, whenever you make your calls, pro tip, book them directly on the calendar. Book them directly into the calendar, into the webinar, add it to the funnel, etc. Do not send them sign-up links. Here's what I mean. You make a call. You say, hey, do you want to attend our webinar? We're going to be covering XYZ. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead and send me over the sign-up link. I'll take a look. Okay, no worries. I'll send that right over. Bye. Well, what have I just done? I have just given them something else to do, another piece of red tape that they've got to get through before I get them to where I want them to go. So what I want to do instead is I want to say, hey, here's what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and personally plug you into the webinar. Now, if you're not able to make this live, don't worry. We will definitely be sending out replays. I'll even personally follow up with you after the webinar just to make sure you got what you needed and to see what questions you have for me. So what's the best email? I'll go ahead and plug you into the webinar. Okay, great. I got you right here. You should now see an invitation show up on your calendar and you can RSVP yes to that calendar hold. So there's nothing that's going to be sent to their email that they now have to go register for. Instead, I've pulled up the sign up page. I've pulled up the registration page and I'm plugging them in on my end of the phone. I'm not sending them something else for them to have to do. Okay. If you're already making dials and you're sending links to emails, try this one trick. And I promise you're going to see a higher sign up rate and a higher yes rate. Okay. Just from you making this one shift. Oh no, my video seems to be frozen. Okay, one second. Can you hear? Let me know if you can hear me, Abe. I'm not sure what happened to my video. Let's see. I am on Wi-Fi, so I'm plugged in. Yep, you can hear me. Let's see here. I can hear you. I think it's okay. Can you see me, Calvin? I can't see me in the preview. Can hear you, but you can't see me. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to keep going because I don't want us to get distracted here. Yeah, I'm on Ethernet, so I'm not sure what's going on. So let's just keep rocking and rolling. Maybe. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're not just sending sign-up links because email is where deals go to die, right? So we want to make sure that we are plugging them in and just making it as easy as possible, all right? As easy as possible for people to make the next step and do the thing that we need them to do, which is to say yes to the webinar, get it on their calendar, block it in. So you'll see here, as I'm making these calls, I'm making sure that they RSVP. I'm making sure that it shows up on their calendar. I'm making sure that they know where to go to hit the link. Okay. I'm making sure that they know I'm going to follow up with them. I'm setting all these expectations because people actually like to be told what to do. They like to know that they don't have to make as many decisions. They get to kind of release the control a little bit. You're going to take care of them. You've got it on their calendar. We made sure that they don't got to go check their email later, click on a link, go sign up, enter in their email, do all these things. Find out if their tech works. Can they find a link to join on the day of? No, you've made it very, very easy for them. So we do not want to just blankly send sign up links. Again, we want to set the expectation that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and personally send you over the details to join. Let me go ahead and get you plugged in. What's the best email? Boom. You get them plugged in right there. Okay. All right. Now, next thing we want to do is when I do make the call at the end of it. Now, if you're using any type of dialer or power dialer or CRM, it's going to have the option for you to mark at the end of your call if it was answered or not answered. If you left a message, if you did not leave a message, it's going to have these really quick buttons that you can hit to make sure that you can track your calls. All right. So remember on this workflow back here, so let me go hop back really quick. On this workflow right here, you can see where it mapped out. Was there an answer, a voicemail? Was the call completed? Did they register? Did they not register? So at the end of my dials, at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to take track of, well, how many conversations did I have? How many accepted the registration? How many accepted the first time appointment? And what follow-up notes do I need to make on that contact? Okay, so you just want to make sure that you're taking track and that you're taking notes on all your contacts as you go. I like to say, no note didn't happen. If I don't leave a note on a contact, then the call did not happen. And that is just best practice for any member of your sales team, top, middle, bottom of funnel, doesn't matter. Because I want, let's say, for example, you're the dialer. I want to be able to hand this call off. Let's say I book this call. I book in John for a first time appointment. I want to be able to hand this call off to my salesperson or my MSP owner that's actually taking that first time appointment. And I want them to be able to pick up that call and know exactly what we talked about, what John and I talked about on that call where we booked the call, right? I want them to know that John doesn't work on Tuesdays and that John was really excited to join the briefing. He couldn't make it at that time though. So I went ahead and fast tracked him to an FTA. Those are good notes to leave. So then when my MSP owner or my sales team gets on the call with him, gets in that first time appointment, they say, hey, John, yeah, Lindsey told me that you were not able to make the briefing. No worries. I know that you've already received the replay to that. Yeah, what questions do you have for me? What were some of your takeaways from that briefing? And then John can open up and John can say, yeah, well, thanks for sending me over the replay. I actually didn't get a chance to watch it, but I've been hearing about breaches, or I've been hearing about the cybersecurity stuff within law firms. And I'm wondering if this is something that I need to, be concerned about. Okay, John, well, let me ask you a couple of questions. And then you can start going into your first time appointment questions. But what those notes do is it creates just this preparedness. It creates this preparedness, this preparation for your sales team so that everyone is seamless, everyone's on the same page, and John feels like he's so taken care of and he has trust in this company. Okay, think about that. Let's see, who sells WiseTrack? We do. We sell WiseTrack, right? And I'll give you a link here in a few minutes. Let's see. And Duroc says, when you hold a demo with a potential customer and they tell you they're exploring other options before making a decision and will reach out once they do, how do you determine the right time to call them without feeling like you're rushing them? Number one, I always set the next touch point. So there's never any like weird air time where I'm wondering, is it too soon or too late to call them? So every phone conversation I ever get off of, I'm setting the expectation of what comes next. So let's say, for example, you have a first time appointment with a client or with a potential client, and they say, well, Duroc, I actually have two other MSPs that we're, kind of in conversation with, and I just want to do my due diligence and, get some quotes and stuff. You say, well, here's the thing. We know the importance of making an informed decision. So here's what I'm going to do. We actually have some more pre-qualification questions that we need to go through before we can even determine if this is a good fit to work with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and book you in for a discovery with our team. Now, what this does in this discovery, this is going to help us determine if you'd be a good fit to work with us. Now, at the end of that call, if you decide that you still need to do some more due diligence, you still need to do some comparisons, etc., we can absolutely do that. But at that point, you'll have some price points to go off of, and we'll know if we're actually a good fit to work together. Okay. Now, let's say they get off of that call with you, because we have a 2-call sales process. That's what we teach in our sales process. Let's say that you get off of that call and they say, all right, well, Duroc, this was very informative. Thanks. I know that we need the CSRA. It's $2,000. I know that we need it. Thank you so much for your time. Now, I've got 2 other MSPs that I'm in conversation with. Let me get with them and I'm going to circle back to you. Okay, awesome, John. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set up a follow-up call with us. And typically it takes other MSPs about, 5 days or so, usually less, for them to get you a quote. So how about we touch base next Thursday, 1:00. Yeah, I got a 1:00 right here on my calendar. How's that work for you? All right, awesome. I'll just give you a quick call. I'll just call your cell phone. Just make sure this is the right number. All right, awesome. I'll call you back next Thursday, 1:00. We'll touch base then. All right, cool. See you then. So I'm always going to set the expectation of when our next touch point is. That way I'm not just following up with them incessantly and hoping that they answer, right? We are professionals. We are all being paid for our expertise, and we want to make sure that we respect their time and they respect our time. And that starts with us setting that expectation. So that's a really, really great question. All right. So step number 4, call with confidence. So now we're getting into some meat and potatoes over here. So when I make my calls, I want to make sure that I have the tonality. I have confidence in my tonality. So if you feel bored, irritated, mad, aggravated, salesy, nervous, guess what? That trickles into the conversation, that trickles onto the other end of that phone. So right now in this webinar, you can probably tell I'm very passionate about this. I'm very excited. I know what I'm talking about. I've talked about this stuff. I teach this every single day. I've seen the ins and outs of it, and you trust that, right? But if I were to get onto this webinar and it's kind of like a call because my video is not working right now, and you just hear my voice and I'm just, I'm like, all right, guys. So today we're going to talk about cold calling. And oh man, what was I going to say next? Yeah, cold calling is important, and you want to make sure that you're doing it. All right, does anyone have any questions? Right, you can tell that was a little exaggerated, but you can tell the difference in my tone from the point before that to just then, right? And whenever you get on the phone and you're irritated or you're bored or you're not enthused or you haven't gotten up from your desk in 6 hours and you've been sitting there stagnant, people can feel that. All right. It is a proven fact that when you make a call, the person on the other end of the phone will only meet you at about 60 to 70% of your energy level. All right. So if you go into a call and you're on a level 4, guess what? They're going to meet you at about a level 2, maybe a level 3 if you're lucky. Right? So I want to show up to my calls level 9, level 10. I'm ready. I'm on it. I'm precise. I got a plan. I'm selling the deal. I'm letting folks know that I know what I'm doing. They feel confident because I'm confident. I show up at a level 10. They're going to meet me at a level 7. Okay. You're never going to have someone more excited about your offer than you are. You're never going to have someone more sold on your solution than you are. You're never going to have someone more excited and stoked and ready for your briefing or ready for your webinar than you are. So you got to get sold on you first. All right. And that all comes through within your tonality. You can also tell whenever someone smiles versus whenever they don't. So whenever someone smiles in their calls versus when they don't, you can tell if someone's excited to be on the phone with you. You can absolutely tell that. So whenever you're making your calls, make sure that you're excited. Now, you don't have to fake it, right? We don't have to be fake and peppy and chirpy if that's not naturally your personality, but we do want to be friendly, right? You do want to be someone that someone wants to talk to. Okay, so smile, show up, be positive, have a positive attitude. If you don't, what's the point, right? What's the point of doing this if we're not positive about it? We want to make sure that whenever we're making our calls, that we're creating a dialogue. I love this meme here. These cats are so funny. They're having a dialogue though, right? You got both the cats talking back and forth. I do not want to be the only person on that call that's talking. I want to open up and allow time for the other person to talk. All right. And you're going to see how this works in our talk track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a talk track here, and I'm going to slow down as we go through this, but I'm going to walk you through why I do this the way that I do, why the talk track is laid out this way. We're going to talk about some theory behind it. And then I'm going to give you an alternative that you can also use. But the reason why I show you the why is so that you can go make your own. Right? You can use our templates, you can use our scripts, absolutely. But then no matter what you're selling, no matter what your offer is, no matter what your briefing or your webinar or the neutral landing place is, you have the theory, you have the principles behind it to go create your own talk track. Okay? So a couple of intros where I make my call. This is going to help me get some opening dialogue. This is not just me going straight in to my pitch, but this is actually making time to get some dialogue. Hey, Susie, this is Lindsey over at ABC Tech. Is John around? I've got something I need to run by him really quick. All right, awesome. So Susie at that point is probably going to say, no, he's on a meeting, or no, he's not available, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've already gotten her to give me dialogue back. Then I can start going into my actual talk track. So I'm going to jump back here. We'll get back to that. Now another one would be, hey John, this is Lindsey from over at ABC Tech. Listen, do you have 60 seconds to spare? I'll share why I'm calling. You'll smile at my persistence. Then we can end our call and you can get back to it. Do you have a yes? Right. So that's kind of funny. This is kind of quirky, right? I'm like, do you have 30 seconds and then you can get back to it? Is that a yes? And sometimes that just makes people smile. I would only do this one if you're like really confident, you're kind of on it, you need to try something different, and you're willing to be told no. All right. So again, you're making cold calls, you're putting yourself in a position to be told no. That's just part of it. Now, a third intro here could be, hey, Susie, I'm calling in response to the XYZ cyber breach. Who handles your cybersecurity and compliance? Oh, well, it's actually Johnny over in IT. I can transfer you. Okay, awesome. Yeah, go ahead and send me through to Johnny. And so then I'm going to go over to the IT department. Now, the really cool part about that, the way that we work our campaigns is we don't always have to go straight to the decision maker. I can talk to gatekeeper. I can talk to IT department. I can talk to the decision maker. Sure. I can talk to their current MSP if I want to, because we do co-managed deals, right? We can run the play and still work with their IT department, right? So I don't always have to get straight to the decision maker. And a lot of times I won't, and that's okay. I haven't planned for that. So that's how you're going to get higher conversion rates on these. All right, so we want to be brief in our pitch. I want to use the least amount of words as possible. I'm not selling them on my cybersecurity services or why they should even leave their current MSP. I'm just trying to sell them on the very next yes. So whether that be, yes, listen to me for 30 seconds. Yes, send me through to the decision maker. Yes, attend my webinar. Yes, check their email. Whatever that very next yes is, that's what I'm trying to get them to. Okay. Let's see, my camera's still not working. Okay, no audio. Thanks, guys. It's because I took myself off of the stage. All right, thank you. All right, let's back it up a notch. All right, so we want to make it as easy as possible to start a yes train. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to walk you through this, and this is kind of one way that we can take our talk track. I'm going to show you another way, and I'm going to walk you through the why we host our talk, or why we run our talk track this way. Thank you, James. It's because I took me off the stage because my video wasn't working, and that also takes my mic off. So all good. All right, so ring ring. This is Susie. Hey, Susie, this is Lindsey from over at ABC Tech. I'm calling because you're on the high risk list for cyber breaches in the North Florida area. Are you the one that handles computer security in your company? Susie's the gatekeeper, so she probably does. She probably helps with the computer decisions, etc. Especially if I'm targeting companies that don't already have internal IT. So she may say, "Yeah, I do. We do have, a guy that actually helps us with our computers, but I actually work with him too." Okay, awesome. So we're hosting a cybersecurity briefing this Thursday at 4 o'clock. I don't see you on the list yet. So let me just confirm you are not already registered for this briefing, right? She's going to say, "No, I don't think I am. I don't see it on my calendar. Can you tell me a little bit more about what this is about?" Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, Susie. This briefing is super important. We're going to be talking about how you can limit your impact of being breached, especially after the XYZ breach with XYZ law firm. Now, I'm going to make sure that you're registered. So it's very important that you arrive on time. I'm going to send you a secure Zoom link, and there's going to be a recording available. I do recommend attending live because live is just always better. You can ask questions, make sure that you guys are on the right track. But there will be a recording available. What's the best email address to send this invitation over to? All right, awesome. Susie@lawfirm.com. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and send that over to you. Now, can you go ahead and check your email for me? Okay, you should see in your email right there. There should be an invitation from Lindsey at ABC Tech. Yep, click that. Now, if you click that, it's going to say to RSVP. Yep, hit yes. Okay, awesome. So you got the invitation. Now, I'm looking at our calendar. I actually see that I have an opening tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And you can actually see here, if you're following along with me, I'm not following this exact, and that's okay, but I'm following the general flow here. So I'll say, Susie, I actually have an opening tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for a cybersecurity briefing with our security team. I can go ahead and plug you and your IT guy in. We can make sure that you guys are covered, as this is a high-risk area for law firms. We'll go ahead and plug you in. It's 15 minutes, and they'll make sure that you're moving in the right track or in the right direction. How does that work for you? 1 o'clock tomorrow? Okay, awesome. Let me go ahead and get you scheduled now before the day is filled up. Okay, go ahead and check your email. Yep, you should have calendar hold in there. Go ahead and RSVP. Yes. Yep, you should see the link in there. Now, tomorrow, I like to log in about 5 minutes before the meeting, just in case you have any tech issues. So you just hit that Teams link or that Zoom link right there, and it's going to log you into our meeting. All right, awesome. So we look forward to talking with you. Again, my name is Lindsey, and I'm actually going to be calling you the morning of the briefing tomorrow. And I'm also going to be calling you before the appointment just to make sure you're able to join and that all of your tech and all of your links are working. You're also going to get a couple of emails beforehand from us. So as you see our emails come through, just make sure that you add us to your safe centers list. And yeah, just reach out to me if you have any other questions. Again, my name is Lindsey, and you can reach me back personally on this number. All right, awesome. So at the end of that call, you can see here, I'm going to log in my CRM notes that we covered earlier. Answered, didn't answer, voicemail, etc., accepted invitation, accepted first time appointment, and then any follow-up notes. Okay, so that's a very high level example of how I'm going to move them through that talk track. Now, another example talk track, this is one of my favorites because it's so simple. But what I would say is, hey, Susie, this is Lindsey from over at ABC Tech. I'm calling in response to the, actually, you know what? There was a cyber brief kind of off the talk track for a second. There was, if you're in Florida, is anyone in Florida? Google, the Florida Department of Revenue had a cybersecurity breach that was, it was actually found in an audit that they did. So this is something that I could add into my cybersecurity briefing, and I can be calling in response to that. So let's use that for our talk track. So hi, Susie, this is Lindsey. I'm calling in response to the Florida Department of Revenue cyber breach. I want to make sure we're touching base with CPAs in the area. Do you know if you guys were impacted by this breach? Now, Susie, most likely 98% of the time, she's going to say, I don't know if we were. Susie says, I don't know if we were impacted by that. I've not heard anything about it. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's not surprising. So Susie, next Thursday, our Chief Security Officer, Jim, is actually hosting a briefing where he's going to be covering the Florida Department of Revenue breach. He's going to be sharing what you need to know, how you may have been impacted, and next steps to limit the blast radius. Now, is it going to be you, Susie, or someone else in the company that's going to be the best person to plug into this briefing? All right, awesome. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get you plugged in. And then I follow that same exact flow from over here. I get her plugged in. I make sure she gets the email. I make sure that she has the link. She's RSVP'd yes. Now I'm going to go in for that second yes. All right, awesome. I actually see that I have a time tomorrow, 1 o'clock for a first time appointment, XYZ, right? It's that same exact flow. So I get the first yes, then I go for the second yes. Okay. All right. So Drayton says, what high risk list if asked? A high risk list is any list of contacts that you know as a cybersecurity professional that they're high risk of being hacked. We know that if you're a financial institution, you are like top of the list. If you're a small business under 25 million in revenue, you're at high risk. Hackers, bad guys, bad actors, they are targeting these companies who do not have a robust cybersecurity infrastructure. They're already on a high risk list, 100%. Okay. You're also going to look at industries that already have incidents occurring, because if cyber criminals are finding an in with this one industry, you better bet money that they're going to another company in that same industry. Okay. So that's a high risk list. That's you. That is your high risk list that you've just generated. Okay. Now I want to make sure that we know our numbers. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're reporting how many calls made, how many conversations did you have, how many briefings did you book, how many FTAs did you pitch, right? Not just booked. How many did I pitch? How many times did I go for that second yes? And how many FTAs did I book? Okay. Every single call that you make is a test. All right, just remember that. Every single call that you make is a test. I'm there to gather data. I'm there to gather statistics. I'm there to listen, to learn. There is no strategy, script, pitch, etc. that is permanent. So this can change every single day. In fact, we tighten up our scripts inside of Leads Mastery every single day. We are making sure that we are tuned into the market. We are listening, and we are improving our talk tracks. Okay. I've got some recommended reading coming up for you here in a few minutes, and then we're going to open up for some Q&A as well. So we want to make sure that we're staying a student. We're constantly assessing our numbers. I want to goal for a 10% yes rate. All right, so start taking note, and I'll go back to my EOD numbers. Start taking note of how many conversations I'm having. That's calls accepted, right? How many conversations am I having? And then how many yeses did I get? I want to go for at least a 10% yes rate. If I'm not getting a 10% yes rate, I need to shift my message. I need to look at my target market. I need to look at my pitch, and I got to start taking note of how I can improve that. 10% yes rate is what I'm going for. I also want to have a 2 yeses a day rule minimum. So every single day, I want to get 2 yeses. Okay. Now, this is not in my slide deck here, but just also make sure that you're not just booking them into the webinar or into the briefing or into that first yes, but after they attend or after that webinar runs through, that you're also following up. You're following up and you're getting them into the first time appointment. Most folks are going to need multiple touch points from you. Okay, so you're going to have to follow up with them, make touch point again, make sure that you're doing your due diligence of getting them on the books with you and your team. Okay, a couple of recommended readings. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classic. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever read any of these. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That is a classic from Dale Carnegie. The Soulful Art of Persuasion. That's a lesser known book from Jason Harris. Actually checked that book out from the library like 4 years ago. Highly recommend it. And then Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. If you are not sold on you, remember that. If you're not sold on you first, no one else is going to be sold on you. Okay, it starts and ends with you. You got to be sold on you. And that book is really, really great for doing that. It's also going to give you some tactical tips in there and how to make the most of conversations with folks. Okay, now before we go into Q&A, a couple of final thoughts here. Let me take it off the screen. There we go. A couple of final thoughts here. Share your wins. So whether you're a 1-person team or a 5-person team or a 50-person team, doesn't matter. Share your wins. So I recommend having a morning huddle with your sales team, as well as celebrating wins throughout and end of day. So I personally, inside of Leads Mastery, we have all of our members send in their end of day numbers where we can celebrate. Oh, you got 4 wet registrants today. Great. You booked 2 first-time appointments. Awesome. You hit 100 calls today. Great. And we're celebrating wins every single day. Winning breeds more winning. Okay. I want to make sure I'm practicing every single day. So not just making calls, but also practicing. This is skills practice. This is script training. This is role playing, objection handling, having time out of the, not just when the clock's going, not just whenever we are in the actual game, but whenever we're on the practice field, we want to be putting in the reps, practicing and having these safe containers for us to show up and get things wrong. Okay. It takes 10,000 reps. 10,000 reps to even begin to become a master at something. So if you haven't put in 10,000 reps, no complaining allowed. Okay. A few more things here. We want to normalize the bounce back. So what I mean by that is no one in the entire world is born a master at this stuff. No one's born a master. So we want to make sure that we are practicing, we're getting back out there, and we don't take the no's personal. It's just part of it. Document your process. You cannot scale what you cannot repeat. Okay. And ultimately, volume. Doing this stuff at volume, having the right numbers, testing it, and reporting are the name of the game. And happy lead generating. You know, if we're not doing this stuff, who will? Who will, right? If we're not doing it, who's going to do this for us? All right. So let's go ahead and open up for Q&A. Try to be cognizant of time over here. So we're going to hit some Q&A. If you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. If I missed something, just copy and paste it for me if I missed it. And we will hit Q&A. And then I'm going to be talking about Leads Mastery and our Elite program. And then we'll do prizes. Okay. Abe says, what if you're not super security focused? More just general MSP. Security is a very easy way to grab people's attention as it sounds scary. Ooh, that's interesting, Abe. So as an MSP, I believe that it is absolutely your due diligence to make sure that your clients are secure. Okay. 2 things. Number 1, they probably think that you're already doing that. Okay. So if you're an MSP and you're handling computers, managed services, you're taking care of those things, they probably think that you're already handling their security. They probably already think that they're protected somehow or some way just because people automatically associate tech, computers, etc., with cybersecurity. They just think that that's the same thing. So if they got breached today, they probably think, well, what do you mean, Abe? I thought you had us covered. All right, which actually leads into number 2. If you are not covering them, if you are not focused on cybersecurity, then you are actually making yourself vulnerable, right? You are actually holding the bag for liability here if you are not offering them cybersecurity, if you are not charging them accordingly for those cybersecurity services. And again, our recommended rate inside of our elite program for our clients is $300 per seat. We see that across the country, across the world. $300 per seat is the recommended going rate for that. So I highly recommend to be security focused. And then with that, of course, you're going to offer your usual MSP services. Of course, you're going to manage their computers. Of course, you're going to manage their users, et cetera. But we definitely want to be leading with cybersecurity. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we answered that one. I think I got it. I think I got all of them. Oh, I didn't get this one from Colin. So Colin says, how do you combat on calls when someone says that they have an IT provider? Okay, great. Great, Susie. I'm so glad that you already have someone that handles your computers. Now, it's very important that we make sure that you're actually on the right track for cybersecurity. Okay, so what is the name of your IT provider? We'll go ahead and plug them into the briefing as well. And we'll get both of you into that briefing and make sure that you're moving in the right track. All right, awesome. Let's get your IT provider, Mike, plugged into that briefing. So we want to plug them in as well. Let's see. New comments. Here we go. Gatekeeper influencer says yes, but the decision maker pauses forever without making a decision. Wish at times a no is better than sitting in limbo. So people will say no, or let me rephrase that. People will sit in limbo when they are unclear. Okay. So if someone is sitting in limbo, it is because they are unclear. Now, that's your job to find out what they're unclear on. But confusion leads to stagnancy, right? When there is no clarity, people don't make a decision, right? I will never go buy a new car if I don't know why I want that car. I will never go buy I have a Stanley cup right here. I'm never going to go buy a new cup if I don't know why I want that cup. Well, I want to keep my ice cold. I want to have this really durable straw. I want to have the handle. I like the color. That's why I'm buying that cup. People are not going to buy or move forward if they don't have clarity. Okay. So in this decision, Matthew, I'd be looking at, are they clear on their risk? First and foremost, number 1, do they know why this is important? Number 2, do they know why this would impact them? Do they know how this would impact them? Number 3, do they know whether or not they are actually protected? Do they know whether or not their current IT provider has them covered? Are they clear on that? Have we done our due diligence of making it clear that maybe their IT provider is actually not doing those things? That maybe having a computer guide, quote unquote, is actually not enough to make sure that they're covered. Okay, so we want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence there and finding out where that gap is in their clarity. Oh, I see somebody in the waiting room over here. Awesome. Hi, Chris.
What's up, everybody? Sorry, I'm running a little bit late today.
I can't hear you, Chris.
You can't hear me? Hold on.
Can you guys hear Chris? So my camera went out also, but we're just moving straight through it. You would know it would be Lindsey webinar if I don't have tech problems.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Still can't hear me. Okay, hold on.
Oh, McLean says that he can hear you. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. Speakers. Oh, I see this.
Audio. There we go. How's that?
All right, you're good now.
Yeah, there we go. So Lindsey had no speakers the whole time and is just talking to yourself. I love it. I love it.
Well, my camera is also not working.
Okay, well, that's all right. Yeah, I can't see you. So are you in a closet or something?
No, it was working fine. And then we got like halfway through and then the camera just went out. I don't know. Whatever. That's not important.
You missed the joke. You're in the door all by yourself in the closet closed.
That's
What's
what
up,
I did.
guys? And Alan just said, Christy needs some IT support. Actually, it's Lindsey, not me.
All right. So let me hop back over here. We're doing Q&A right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, guys,
So
I
Zach,
had a meeting that was like double over the top. So it just is what it is. You know, one of those days that happens. So good to see you guys. How'd the content go, Linz?
yeah, it's great. We're doing awesome. We're rocking and rolling. We had really good questions so far. So we're doing Q&A, and then we're going to move right on into leads mastery and prizes.
Okay. Anything I can specifically answer for you guys from the former MSP seat? Also, now pretty much runs our sales team here, runs our lead gen team, runs our outbound team and our inbound team. I lead our CRO, who is Michelle, and I kind of run the strategy around it. And then Lindsey and I work on all this other back end stuff too.
So I think actually, Chris, if you want to speak to Zach's question, so Zach asked here, let's see.
So he said 300. Okay, there's that
Yep,
one.
we were talking about security, like focusing on security, and then Zach's question was like $300 for cybersecurity. So if you want to speak to that, then you can.
Yeah. So keep in mind, 300 per seat in whatever currency you're in. So for example, American, Canadian, Australian, European, Euro, or I guess pound in the British Isles. Yes. What you want to give is you think about what the IT company or the IT person gave for years, which was usually a good, better, best, or a small, medium, or large. Now, the mindset around that was, hey, if I give them a small and a large, they might take the middle. And it was kind of, a lot of it came from the Steve Jobs way of selling Apple products is actually where most of that came from. Well, now you think about what we should provide. What should the IT company be providing for every client? What are we kind of expected to do? What should we be doing from a compliance, legal, legislation, and more importantly, an insurance standpoint? It should be provided what the client should have, the best solution for the client, which is usually your all-inclusive seat. Now, that seat should include full managed services, which is your help desk, RMM stuff, on-site labor, maybe. I like to bundle it all in a single seat, but there's more than one way to throw that rock. And then it should also include your standard cybersecurity package. And you go in, and what we propose in the 7-figure land. Now, again, there's more than one way to do this, but we propose doing an assessment, a true risk assessment. What should the client have? Show them, educate them so much that they're like, holy cow, I should have cybersecurity in place along with IT support, and get them to understand all that. And then you lead them kind of to the path where like, oh man, we could go with the cheap, crappy guy over here selling at, $20 a PC, but we should have MFA. We should have secondary threat protection. We should have Threat Locker. We should have all these things that are there with MFA and a fully managed SOC. And here's why. Then we charge and we guideline on a $300 per seat number, specifically because it's an 80% gross profit margin. So look at your costs. Now, the reason I go to the $300 per seat number, and I'll just tell you guys this real easy and real simple. Most MSPs don't know what their costs are. Lindsey's camera's back, by the way. Most MSPs don't know what their costs are. So if I gave an MSP a calculator and said, hey, calculate all this stuff, they'd spend days, weeks, months calculating all their costs, and they'd never sell. So we're like, look, let's just go sell at 300 a seat as our baseline on a 36-month agreement is our baseline. And if we got to up or down, but the seat is always the same. That's the mindset, is the seat is now the best. We've explained to them why, and then we negotiate the price based on term. So the seat is the same. The stack is the same. And we baseline 36-month agreement. Hey, I want this cheaper. Okay, how do we make it cheaper? Well, let's do a 48-month term. Let's do a 60-month term. We can always renegotiate down the road, guys. Oh, I want not to sign a 3-year. Okay, we can sign a 2-year or a 1-year, but what happens to the price? Then the price goes up. So the static is now the stuff that's included, and you can justify it with, hey, we got to put this in because we got insurance telling us, we got compliance telling us, we got legislation telling us, and more importantly, when you get hacked, and you're going to get hacked because I can't stop it anymore, guys. I have to prove that we tried. So we have to steer away from malpractice, and that's our baseline. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So Zach said, I guess what I was getting at was that I don't see how I could provide a truly valuable cybersecurity package at that price point. And then he asks, do we have a comprehensive solution? We actually
Sure.
have a lead magnet for that, right? Like
Yeah, we have a couple different ones, and a couple things I'll tell you on that. What I love to see is this comment. I don't see how. So this is showing, because here's the thing. What happens if you have a client that's, let's say, a elderly care facility or a wealth management firm, and they're like, okay, we have compliance now because we are mandated by the SEC, or broker dealers mandated, all these other things. And we also have insurance that's now saying we got to have a fully managed SOC. We have to have an MFA. We have to have secondary threat protection. We have to have all these things in place. What happens if you don't have a why? Then what happens with most MSPs is they're adding it, and who eats the cost? The MSP ends up eating the cost, because they're like, crap, I can't go to my client and provide this because I can't tell them they need to pay more, because I've always been selling them widgets for dollars. So this is why you have to have a really good sales plan and a good sales system to do this, showing them the why, because they all got money, guys. I'm telling you, like our MSP clients, we have 400 plus MSPs in our coaching program active. They're all selling at these rates, and they're closing deals in all, and I'll say this, every English speaking nation in the world is closing deals at these rates. Okay. This is real. I can prove this. I can show you guys this if you doubt me. But the big factor is how you sell it. Now, he said is, how do I get a package? Here's a couple things I'll say. RMM side, or let's just say managed services side, basic managed services, I'd include all-inclusive help desk, 8 to 5, all-inclusive on-site labor, 8 to 5, your time zone. You control whether you roll a truck, you control how you manage a ticket with your SLA. We treat every ticket. First of all, every incident comes in as a ticket. We treat everyone as a remote incident. We only roll a truck if we determine it, blah, blah, blah. There's, I got some SLA examples if you want to see that. That's kind of irrelevant. I did this starting in 2010 for the record, and rolled this out in my firm. That's your fully managed MSP services. Then we got fully managed cybersecurity, which should be primary threat protection, your EDR, your endpoint detection and response. Then we get your secondary threat protection. That could be your Huntress or your Threat Locker, or Auto Elevate. There's various different products for that. Then what's critical is you have a MFA solution and a fully managed SOC, your Security Operations Center. A good example of this, the guys at Solutions Granted run this with SaaS alerts and run this with a couple different products. Kaseya has offerings, ConnectWise has offerings. There's all kinds of different offerings that you can put in. But the key is you as an MSP are charging an amount that you can actually afford to put the right solution in for. What I would say is, Zach, shoot me a message on either LinkedIn or Facebook Messenger or whatever, and I'll send you we have a deliverable on this. I just don't have it at hand right now on a couple different guides, but we can give you a baseline. But the bottom line is going out there and selling it at an 80% margin, ideally around $300 per seat, and then up from there. And most MSPs that we're doing now, 300 is their baseline. We're averaging probably 420 a seat around the world right now. So 420 Canadian is different than 420 United States dollars, also different than 420 Australian, also different than 420 quid. Exactly, right? So just think about it that way. But the big factor, and one thing I want to say, Lindsey, on this is this right here, Mel, is a little bit of head trash, okay? You build in an annual increase of 10% into every agreement. So we just solved some of your increases, and you can always redo this. So don't, and when I say head trash, that's not a rip on you. It's, I can't sell this for this in my market. I can't do this for this. I can't do this. Yes, you can. We're doing this all day. We have hundreds of MSPs in our program doing this. You can do this. The big factor is, and here's the biggest key, having the cybersecurity conversation with your client is the starting point. You're going to have people that say no. You're going to have people, think about this from a doctor, a lawyer, CPA, any of your professional services industry. It becomes about deniability. You promised me I would never get hacked. You can never be in that world now, right? You can't. You can't say, we manage your IT, so you manage your business, because that's showing that you're managing and responsible for all IT. You need to go in historically. I did a CSRA. I presented to you the results. I'm ticking in I presented the results. I showed you that you needed it. You declined it. I gave you a letter that said you declined it. You got hacked anyway. You can't blame me because I told you. Or even if they did get hacked, you're like, I told you we were going to get hacked. Now it's about doing our best to protect and recover, not prevent. Big factors, big factors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Such a change in mindset. Also important why we want to keep filling top of the pipeline and why this whole training is so relevant to make sure that we have new leads coming in, because some people it's just not going to be a fit. And that's exactly what we're doing when we're educating them in our briefing, in our webinar, in these neutral landing places that we've been talking about, because you don't want to get on these sales calls with folks and they're like, yeah, I just want the cheapest service possible. Yeah, I don't believe in cybersecurity. That's never going to happen. Okay, we're not a fit. No worries. I'll send you in another direction. That's why we have all these steps in play to, number one, continue filling the pipeline, but number two, to make sure we get quality leads into the pipeline. So it all comes together. All right, awesome. Let's see. I think we hit all.
Yeah, I do like this from Mel too, just by the way. Not if you will get hacked, but when. One thing I want to I'm sorry, Lindsay. I'm like pumped up because I came in.
I'm excited. This is good. This is good stuff.
Mel, you're spot on with that. Now I want you to think about this, Mel. What do your clients think? So us as IT people all know. I speak at IT Nation every year. I'm doing a super ops webinar in a couple of weeks. I do all these talks all the time. And every time I'm in the room with MSPs, I'm like, okay, everybody raise your hand. Lindsay, you saw me do this in Orlando at IT Nation. So everybody raise your hand. And the whole room raised their hand. And I said, who in this room could prevent all hacks? All the hands come down. So we as IT guys know that we can't prevent all hacks. But what do your clients think? They think that my IT guy's got my back. He's got me. I got an IT guy. I'm good. This is one of the dangers of going in and saying, hey, we can be the cheapest guy, or we can do this, and this, because they all think their IT guys got them handled. And that's going to be a battle you have to fight. When 90% of your lead magnets, all the stuff Lindsay's talking about, is getting them interested enough to like raise their hand and be like, ooh, okay, I'm interested in that. That's it, right?
Yeah. Good. Okay. Awesome. All right. I think we hit all of our questions. Zach says, thank you. I think I have a good idea of the package. Awesome, Zach. All righty. So we're going to keep rocking and rolling here. Now, you guys have heard me talk about our Leads Mastery program. So I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, how this ties in with our lead program, and how we could support you. I know I had questions in the beginning of the webinar around where do we find an SDR and how do I know if I have the right person and what are some of the skills that I'm looking for in that hire. That's what we do inside this program. Okay. So Leads Mastery is a Trailblazers program within our elite 7-figure MSP program. Okay. So this is the actually, fun fact, this is the first time we've opened this up to the public. So typically this is only available to folks that are already in our elite program. We've actually created a fast track program because we've seen such an increase in demand for folks being in control of their sales process. So we've seen more and more MSPs kind of realize that, hey, outsourcing my dialing, outsourcing my appointment setting, I'm kind of just burning through cash and I'm not getting the results that I want. So we've seen an increase in demand. So we're opening this up to the public to join into Elite and then to fast track you into our Leads Mastery program to get your SDR, get your dialer, get your top of funnel salesperson in that can start putting these cold call processes into play to start filling your pipeline for you. Okay. So what this looks like is complete SDR, dialer, hiring, onboarding, and training. You also get access, of course, to all of our weekly marketing open office hours. This includes top of funnel hiring roadmap. So we have a 30-day hiring roadmap included. We have a full SDR and dialer job posting and description included, 30, 60, 90 onboarding plan. You have a full training live with me on how to hire, train, and develop your all-star SDR. That's included. Then you have the specific training that's only for your top of funnel sales rep on how to become a top 1% SDR or dialer live with me as well for that hire. And then Monday through Friday, script practice with Lindsey and team, and cold cold calling reviews that are included as well. So for an example, third Tuesday of the month, which was this month or this week, we're actually doing cold call reviews. So this is where all of our folks inside of Leads Mastery are submitting their cold call reviews. So how awesome would it be to have your cold calls reviewed by me, by our team, by our software that we're using, have them reviewed, and then you get on the spot feedback for it and how to go and improve those calls. So that's just one piece of this. We do Monday through Friday script practice. So you guys heard us talk about the morning huddles. In the beginning of the webinar, we talked about every single morning meeting with your team, talking about wins, obstacles, opportunities, and then doing on-the-spot role play, objection practice. We do that Monday through Friday. So every single day I'm doing this with our folks inside of Leads Mastery, and then making sure that we have weekly skills practice. So every single week we're practicing hooks, pitches, pulling on emotional pain points, how to get the most from your calls, how to get the second yes. Everything that you saw here in the last 90 minutes in this webinar, we're practicing these skills in our deep dive sessions every single week inside of Leads Mastery. We also have monthly performance reports. So taking all of those end of day numbers, all of your weekly metrics, and then plugging them into a leadership report that gets pushed back to the MSP owner. We come together in a leadership only meeting, and then we can make strategic decisions of hiring, firing, retention, and ascension. Okay, so being able to look at numbers and then making data-driven decisions. Remember data-driven decisions we talked about? So being able to look at our numbers and saying, hey, this is working, this is not, we need to ascend this salesperson, we need to retain, we need to fire or find someone new. Okay, so making those decisions in real time so that you're not finding yourself on the same cycle every single month of burning and churning through another dialer, or realizing you're 6 months in with a dialer and it didn't work, or they didn't perform well, or they quit, or whatever the case is. We're always making fast, data-driven decisions. Okay. In Leads Mastery, you also get access to a Wisecrack integrator. So we had several questions on Wisecrack, which is our CRM. You get your very own certified in our Wisecrack program, Wisecrack integrator, to make sure that all your funnels and your pipelines and workflows are up, running. You've got your leads list imported, and so that you, your sales team, and your SDR are not bogged down in trying to figure out your CRM. Okay, because raise your hand, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever gotten lost in the CRM before. Maybe you go buy a new CRM, you invest into Salesforce or Zoho or whatever. You're 30 days in and you burnt through $300 and you still don't know what you're doing in there. Right?
Let me even say this, Lindsey, this is the thing. So Lindsey doesn't come from MSP land. She came from digital marketing land and coaching land. 98% of MSPs don't even have a CRM. They run their customer acquisition out of their professional services automation tool, or their email software, which really, that's not a CRM, guys. You should be running your customer acquisition just like a big company, not using, and for example, back in the day, we used ConnectWise for this. And then eventually I switched over and we were using HubSpot and a couple other different variables as I learned that we were going to become a sales and marketing firm. And this is a really key mindset change. So we flipped from an IT company to a managed service provider, from the managed service provider to a sales and marketing firm that delivered IT services.
Yeah.
Once I made that mental switch is when we went from being just another IT company to a money machine. I will tell you that. And that's got to be a mental switch that you have as the owner or the decision maker.
That's so powerful. A sales and marketing company that delivered IT services, like literally a game changer.
And that whole thing, plug and play on any industry. I'll tell you that. Like once you learn how to do this, you can do this to sell 7-figure MSP. Everybody wants to come be sales, right? You can just sell 7-figure MSP. You can sell, plastic surgeon. You can sell anything you want. Once you realize that marketing is life.
Yep, absolutely. Love it.
Life.
So it's so important, that you take all these pieces and you start plugging them in, right? Because if you don't make a change, who is? If you don't take control of this, who is? And it's like we talked about earlier, no one's ever going to care about your business, about your results more than you do, right? Even team that you hire, they're just not going to be there. So you set the pace for everything else that comes next. So you've got your personal Wisecrack integrator. We've been talking about the briefing. That's our most successful campaign. This is the one that we see anywhere between 10, 15 to 20% yes rates on. This entire presentation, the entire campaign, email sequences, all those things are included, as well as our power dialer and our cold call pipelines and workflows. So I showed you all a snippet of that earlier, of that one part of our pipeline where you drop the lead in, whether they voicemail, they answer, they register, etc. Then what happens? That's just one piece of it. So you get that full built out pipeline and process in there. So all we have to do is go pull your leads list, your VA, your Wisecrack integrator plugs it into Wisecrack for you, your SDR, your dialer. You start making calls, you hit go, that's it. We start filling the pipeline. Okay, so everything is meant to be as seamless as possible. Note, I did not say easy. It's not easy, but we can make it seamless. Okay. Now, this is the path. Again, this is our first month of launching this publicly. So we have a fast track option available for those of you who are at a place to where you're ready to bring in your SDR or dialer internally so that you can ramp up the results for your sales team. So day one, you come into Elite onboarding with Chris, with Cindy, and with Ryan, and you learn how to sell the right way. So that's going back to what Chris was talking about around, hey, we've got the right price point, we have the right stack, we're selling with risk first. We're making sure that we're not holding the bag whenever our clients are hacked. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because we learn how to sell the right way and we run the play. Okay. If you've ever seen any of our content, we talk about running the play. This is where you're going and you're running the play on existing clients. You're getting some upgrades. You're getting some cash generated in those first 30 days by learning how to sell properly. Now, in days 30 to 60, we're beginning to advertise and screen for your SDR, your dialer hire. So that means you're getting your process days 1 through 30. We get your job posting put together and we start advertising that job posting by day 30. Okay. It's very important that you learn how to sell first before we get new leads in. That's why we do sales. Then we start lead generation. So now days 30 through 60, you get your SDR, your dialer. Day 60, we hire them. On day 60 to 90, they come in and myself and our leads mastery team begins onboarding and training them while they're generating leads and beginning to fill your pipeline. Okay, so you've got about a 90-day process here to where you're learning how to sell. We get your job posting up, we get them hired, and we begin their onboarding by day 60. Okay, so we're starting to get them in and starting to fill that pipeline. Now, you guys saw what comes in the leads mastery program, but also in the Elite program. And Chris, you're welcome to speak to the Elite program. I have just like a really quick list here we're going to run through just because of time's sake. But all the leads mastery program in the Elite, we have our sales system, marketing machine, risk presentation, agreement, risk assessment, all these things that comes in our Elite program by itself, and then the leads mastery program, you're looking at around $16,000 per month in value.
Actually, a bunch of stuff to that, so it's like 18 and change now.
Yeah, we have stuff like every month. That's crazy.
Yep.
We should probably increase our prices, actually. So this is just a really like high level overview of our Elite program. And chances are, if you're here on this webinar, you've probably seen us talk about this stuff. This is probably not your first webinar with us. And if it is, welcome in. But today we actually have a really special offer for you. 12 months of our leads mastery and our Elite coaching program so that we're tying the principles of all this in together, really transforming your business in totality for only $37.50 per month. Okay, that's both programs. That's Elite and our leads mastery mastermind. Now, because it's a special day, right? Special day, we actually have a fast action bonus. So our fast action bonus, if you go ahead, and I have something that's even more special, if you go ahead and book your call today with our Chief Revenue Officer. So you heard Chris talk about Michelle Terpstra is our Chief Revenue Officer. She's absolutely amazing. I actually infiltrated her calendar today and I'm like, Michelle, we are booking calls straight on your calendar today. I want you talking to these folks that are coming into Leads Mastery, and I want to make sure that they're top-notch fits and that they're going to excel and succeed inside of our program. So if you book today, we're actually going to be knocking off $500 per month for a total cost of $32.50 per month for both programs. So you get Leads Mastery and the Elite program. The catch is that you've got to book in with Michelle. I'm going to give you her booking link here in a second, and we're going to make sure that you are going to see success in the programs. because ultimately we only want folks that we believe in and that believe in themselves and that are going to show up and do the work. Okay. So again, here's all the stuff that's in the elite program, yada, yada, yada. But wait a minute, I don't know if this program will work. And Chris, you may.
Can I talk about this? Actually, this is such a good stuff. And Lindsey, you can hit the next couple slides for me.
Yeah.
So I've been in a situation for, we've been selling this program since since 2018. Massive growth. The program works for so many people, so much that I added a couple of guarantees. So we have a 90-day money back guarantee that's built in the program. And here's kind of the factor. If you come in the program and do the work. Now, I'm never going to sit here and say the program is perfect. It never fails. It's amazing, because there's one factor I can't control. We have people that not blow it out of the park. We got a guy, Brett Gallant, in Miramichi, New Brunswick, Canada, like in a 17,000 person town, has increased his MRR by like 5x. He's selling at $233 per seat on average across all of his seats. Well, he's worked on it for 2 years straight. He's killed it. Yeah. Now we got guys that come in the program and they don't do anything. What's the difference? It's that they don't do the stuff. So if you come in the program, next bullet point for me. If you come in the program and you participate in the work, this is the factor. You got to come in and do the work for the first 90 days. And if you're like, okay, I did the work, I didn't see any ROI, I don't think it's worth it, maybe it's not for me, Weiser's nuts, Lindsey's worse, I will refund your money in full. Now, here's what I will tell you. This has never even been requested. Again, people have come in and not done the job. I'm not going to debate that. It's not a whole lot different. Lindsey and I, we have personal trainers. Not any different than, hey, hire a personal trainer. If you don't do the work, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of success. So what I will tell you, and I will guarantee this, if you come into this program and do the work, you're going to see wins, or I will give you all of your money back. And that includes leads mastery. Lindsey died. Oh, there we go. Okay. That thing totally like froze up. So we got guarantee number 2 on this. We added a second guarantee. Lindsey, hit me the next slide there on this as well.
I'm hitting.
If you guys participate in all the work, and if you don't add at least your initial investment in MRR, yeah, you're freezing up a bunch. So I think it's on your side. I'm not sure. It might be Wi-Fi or something like that. But if you come into the program, do all the work. If you don't make at least your initial investment in the program in the first 90 days, I'll write you a check. So you come in, book your call with Michelle right now. If you don't make at least $3,250 in new MRR in the first 90 days, I'm going to write you a check for $3,250. That's real and that's
so
legit. Also never been requested. So it kind of just comes down to, if you come into the program and do the work, you're going to see success. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Am I back? Am I good?
Yeah, you're fine. It's just like up and down. It seems like you're a little bit laggy. And Colin just asked this really quick. Let me just put this up on the screen. Can you do the leads mastery without the elite program? You do need to be in elite. The elite program has changed massively since you've been here, Colin. So I think you gotta be in, like, it's massively changed. We also have a brand new revamp of elite coming in the next 60 days, because we're going to launch a brand new version at Q3 Live in Denver. So my recommendation, get back in elite, and it is a prerequisite, because here's the deal. You need all the stuff that's in elite to do leads mastery the right way. So that's the answer on that.
Yeah, awesome. So I just popped our link over here in the chat. Again, this is a call with Michelle. So this is with Michelle Terpstra, our Chief Revenue Officer. We kind of guard her calendar. So whenever you book in with her today, that's how you're going to save that $500 off of both programs. That's $500 per month. That's $6,000 a year that you're going to save whenever you join both programs. Again, this is only for the folks who are like, yep, I'm ready. I'm ready to change my business. I'm ready to grow. I'm done messing around. I want to get my dialer in. I want to start training my top of funnel sales team, and I'm ready to run. So you got to be ready to put in the work. You have to be ready to show up. You have to be coachable. That's a huge one. We don't want folks that are closed-minded. They don't listen. They don't want to show up. They're like, what I'm doing is fine. I'm okay with mediocre results. You got to be hungry. Just like we talked about earlier, whenever we had the questions about what makes a great salesperson, and we said, you better be hungry and you better be money motivated. Well, that's what we want, right? We want folks that are in it to win it. We're driven by performance, and we want to see the changes in our life and in our business. Okay. So you can see here team.sevenfigureMSP.com/call with Michelle. That's going to take you directly to her calendar. She's monitoring it right now. So if you go ahead and book in now, you get on her calendar. We're making note of who's booking now to save that $500 off. And you can ask her any questions if you want to make sure, hey, I think this is right for me. Let's just make sure. She's going to help you make an informed, empowered, educated decision on that call. Okay. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move into prizes. Yay. So we have the two prizes. We have the $100 gift card and the $75 gift card. And anyone that books in with Michelle, you also get a $50 gift card. So that's another win, right? Again, we said earlier, that's not why we want you to book the call or stay here, but those are definitely perks. So those are just ways that Chris and we like to give back to the community. So, all right, couple of prizes. Chris, how about I'll let you be Vanna today and you can pick out the winner.
Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes here.
Okay.
Let's get my
So what we want you to do is if you're hanging out with us, go ahead and let us know in the chat what has been your biggest takeaway for the day. So we've covered cold calling scripts. We've covered list building. We've talked about best practices, getting the second yes, tonality, training your mind, all these things today. I want you to tell me in the chat, what was your biggest takeaway? Okay. What's the thing that you're going to go put into practice? And when you answer in the chat, that's going to enter you into the drawing for our two prizes. Okay, so let me know in the chat. What's your biggest takeaway? All right, Jason says.
Jason just said, I put that on the screen for you, Lindsay. Create a plan, be purposeful with the approach. Here's James. I honestly didn't think you'd be so much composed and fun while alone. Lindsay's probably better alone than without me, honestly. I'm the anomaly. She's actually professional. Key indicator, Lindsay is the MC at our live events, guys. So she's the superstar. I'm just the follow along guy. I'm actually, you know what I am? I'm the pretty face.
You're the pretty face. Absolutely. That's why we keep you around, Chris.
How about the big arms? I'm the big arms guy.
Big arms, pretty face. Absolutely. Let's see. Yomi says, he says the daily plan, step by step. Yep. So having that morning, that's so important, Yomi. Thank you for saying that. So having your morning plan. So who am I calling? Do I have my list? Making sure what are my goals? What's my pitch? And what's my non-negotiable yeses? Minimum recommendation is 2 yeses a day. Okay. Really good. Dan says inviting the current MSP to the cybersecurity. Heck yeah. Bring them on in there. Co-manage for the win. Cindy Phillips is going to be doing a full training on co-managed deals at our Denver event. Mike says the script layout was helpful for me to start reaching out in a different way than I'm doing currently. Awesome, Mike. And you can take the principles that we did in that script and make your own from it, right? So you take the principles of it and you can come up with your own verbiage because that's my verbiage. I talk like Lindsay talked. You can talk like Mike talks, but use the same principles. Okay, so really good. Rachel says, I will build and work with considering my target industry, geographic location, ideal employees, annual revenue. Awesome. The scripts have been a great resource and are exactly what I'm looking for. Yay. Yeah, we work these scripts every single day. I've got the numbers out. Actually, I bet I have leads mastery numbers coming through right now that are using those scripts. So, oh, this is funny. I told Michelle, I was like, I'm pimping you out today with her calendar. And she says, I love being pimped. So y'all go blow up Michelle's calendar. All right. Mel says step-by-step process for tracking a call through the CRM. Absolutely. And that full process, Mel, that I showed you is for the briefing. So you can repeat that process for your other campaigns. And all that's included inside of Leads Mastery. So I highly recommend building that out or having a conversation with us to see if we can lighten your workload on that. All right, Gabby says, if I have a list of 1,000 calls, I'll run the list for 30 to 60 days, get 500 answers at 5%. Yep, I'll get 25 yeses. You got it, Gabby. Yeah. All right, Mitch says, changes to your program with SDR training. Absolute necessity. Oh, I love that. Awesome.
Yeah. And guys, we're adding to our elite program and all the back end stuff so often, so much. Like we're revamping all the time because the market's changing. You got to understand the MSP market is changing at a rate now that I've never seen before. You know, I think about the stack and the delivery that we did from 2005 to 2015 in 10 years, pretty much didn't change. A couple tools changed here and there, but the basic premise of it was pretty much the same. In the last 2 years, It has changed what? 20-fold? Did you guys say 20-fold? It's changed dramatically. Now, Lindsey, I said this on the onboarding call this morning. I consider this the MSP gold rush. Like we are in the best time ever to be in this industry, by far. And some really good things I like seeing in some of your comments here and some of these different pieces. The big factor on all this stuff, guys, you have to be consistent and you can't give up on this. And Colin Farmer just said that here too. Like you got to not give up. You got to build confidence and you got to go. And here's the thing. Most of you are like me. Like I was I'm an IT guy. Servers, hypervisors, like all that stuff. I worked on it hardcore. I have forced myself to become a sales and marketer. Like you actually hear me now. I can't turn on a laptop anymore. I'm like that. But I am now the guy that's in the trenches. Like Lindsey, you and I talk strategy every single day around sales and marketing stuff. And I'm, for the most part, in 7-figure MSP marketing, I'm the visionary behind all of it now. Totally different animal. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Keep going. And I got a couple of winners.
Never tire from sending cold leads or cold calls. Yeah, it is at times difficult, especially when I feel like some leads. Yeah, but we're just not going to take that personal. That's so important, Alan. So remembering those affirmations that we covered in the beginning. And it's just part of the game. It's the name of the game. Like that's okay. Make it work in your advantage. Don't burn out on it. Keep yourself inspired. Make pivots, data-driven decisions. It's all just numbers. That's it. All right. Yep. Sean says, I'm working for the second. Yes. Vertical specialist is built on target industry. Yep. Beautiful. Brian says, I'm going to ask for the next yes. That's easier to get after having the first one. That's right. Folks just want to have validation that they made the right decision the first time. So they're more likely to say yes the second time. You got it. I'm going to book them directly on the calendar. Duark says, I learned that in order to increase my yes rate, my pitch should be brief, attention catching. My energy level should be at 90, 100%. You got it. They can only meet you at about 70%. Confidence, 1,000 prospects completed. You got it. 2 yeses a day. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to show my clients that I'm very passionate about my job. I love this tonality. Oh my gosh, you guys were like listening. Whew. Chris, we're going to have to kick you off the next webinar. I mean, this was like
I can tell some of these answers are coming from auto note taking and AI, though. I can tell you that.
Oh, I know. I can tell that too. I'm going to build and work while considering my target industry. I'm thinking of renaming my MS to 8-figure MSP. Oh, I like that. Gabby says, I need to add the cold leads to a CRM. Yep. Alan says, by the way, Lindsey made this up. Thank you. Yeah. So much fun as well as educating. Great job, Lindsey. You fit in Chris's shoes perfectly. Yeah, he does kind of have small feet. Just joking. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate that.
I do have small feet, actually.
So fun fact, we presented Chris with a pair of shoes at last year's event. They were Run the Play branded Nikes. And I told Chris that we're going to present him this year with 7-figure MSP branded Crocs because he loves my Crocs.
Despise Crocs, like despise. Okay, I am ready to go, Lindsey. I got a couple of winners here. I have our $100 gift card winner. And keep in mind, guys, we send a tremendous.com gift card. I need to make sure that to get that, you have to be on the webinar with us, meaning you have to be on the StreamYard webinar. So Lindsey, see all those little ducks on there. Those are your StreamYard webinar people. We don't have a lot of people commenting from across the web right now because we're streaming across like multiple platforms right now. So you got to be that, and you have to put in your actual MSP business email address. That's really key. You will not get a gift card, and it's a tremendous.com gift card because we got to verify that you're real. So our $100 gift card winner is Mr. Vince Korb. Vince, I need your, and it's not for that comment, but you are our $100 gift card winner. Vince, please put your business MSP email in the webinar comments, and we will get you a $100 tremendous.com gift card that can be redeemed for Amazon, Starbucks, debit, all kinds of different things. It's pretty cool. Oh, cool. Next up, we have our $250 tremendous.com gift card winner. That goes to that's what I always do. Oh. Were you cheaping everybody out? Were you trying to take that for yourself?
I mean, I was gonna put it towards, I don't know, a
Crocs?
new camera, apparently.
Not Crocs. Yeah.
Not your Crocs.
Mr. Colin Farmer. Congratulations, Colin.
Awesome.
That's
Great
our
job.
winners for today. Colin, need your email address as well, sir. There's Vince. Vince, you are in Canada, so there might be a tremendous.com challenge. So just, I'm going to have Anne-Marie from our team email you. We've been seeing some issues with tremendous.com. If that becomes a problem, we'll just send you PayPal cash. Okay. So just be mindful of that. I do believe Zelle is now working in Canada as well. So that's a Zelle as well in Canada. So do that. And then there's Colin's email as well. So Colin is in the States. I know Colin personally, so that's kind of cool. Congratulations, guys. Lindsey, I'll let you take us home.
All right. Awesome. I appreciate every single one of you hanging out with me and hanging out with Chris and I, sticking with me even when the camera went out. I think that we all have plenty of things that we can go put into practice. Take what you learned today, go do something tomorrow. It's the end of the day for most of us. Put the stuff into practice, start reporting your numbers, making your data-driven decisions. Talk to our team. If you've not booked your call with Michelle yet, it's team.sevenfiguремsp.com/call with Michelle. And we're ready to get you in. I can get you in, started in Leads Mastery as soon as July 1st. So we start top of the month onboarding. We'll get you going, get your dialer, your SDR in, and we'll get you moving. All right. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, Chris. Thanks for joining me. And we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Great job, Lindsey.